Welcome to Lorehammer. My name is Eric.
Hey, Eric. I'm Mark, as you've known me for the last 10 years.
Thank you, Mark, for... No, it's got to be more than 10. It's more than 10.
Oh, yes. It's way more than that, but it's like, that's how long we've known each other. You know?
Physically, yeah.
Explored each
Yeah.
other.
Explored.
Right. Yeah.
Known each other for a long time.
Of course, yeah. But
Your whole
there's
life
a
I've
depth.
been watching you, grooming you, some would say.
There's a depth to our friendship now.
Specific
Oh,
memory
it's deep.
10 years ago that
Yeah. That was the moment, hey? Yeah. I don't remember it, but drugs will do that to you.
Mm. And with us, we got our new friend of 2 months, Iain.
is it 2 months?
I don't know.
How long have we been grooming Iain?
I reached out to Mark in like October or something.
He's been grooming me.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Grooming you both.
Don't look at me as you say that, Iain.
Yeah.
Fuck me eyes. My God.
I weaseled my way into the friend group probably in October.
It doesn't even.
or
How much
something.
weaseling did it actually take, though? Like
Mark literally sent me his address within 3 messages.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Pretty
yeah.
much. It's quite easy.
It's
Probably-
all true.
yeah, you probably like don't want to do that.
Well, you know, it hasn't led me astray yet.
They're. That is not true.
Yeah, I've heard stories.
No, there was. I remember when we first started this, and people reached out to us from Calgary, and someone was over, and Mark's like, he sent me a text, and he's like, "Hey, come over, hang out." And I'm like, "What's up?" And he's like, "Oh, some random person's over." I'm like, "In your house, where you live?"
Yeah.
Well, why not? Of
I
course.
told them the hours that I would be there in a way, just so they would.
Of course, yeah.
Right.
So they wouldn't miss you.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, last time I was over, you and your wife just left me in the garage.
This is true. Yeah,
I had access to your motorcycle,
keys in the ignition,
plenty of
even.
stuff.
My God. You randy people.
Very trusting people here at Lorehammer.
I do police checks before I meet people. I mean, it's just me checking Facebook and Instagram,
Yeah.
but I'm stalking.
I think that's
you.
called the creep check.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've actually
You
probably.
creep-checked me?
Oh, definitely. Well, we have someone
On
in
Facebook?
common that we know, actually.
Oh yeah, you did creep check.
Exactly. Yeah.
What?
Like, the first time that
Me?
Ian and I ever chatted,
Yeah.
I was like, "Hey, how do you know this person?" It's a girl that I went to junior and high school with.
Right.
Yeah.
It was like,
But it was
my
because-
ex-girlfriend's cousin or something.
Yeah,
Right.
but it was because Mark was like, "Oh, there's a new guy," and so I was like, "Well, I'm gonna look on his fucking Facebook and Instagram."
What is it? Like there's 7 degrees of
Kevin Bacon.
Kevin Bacon or whatever the fuck.
Yeah, there's a good joke there.
So it's
Yeah,
like
I think
between
it's
you
7.
and Kevin Bacon, there's seven
is 7 seems high.
acquaintances. Like you know somebody that'll know somebody that knows somebody that, and eventually you'll
Okay,
know a celebrity.
I know
typed
Kevin
in
Bacon
Google.
by proxy.
I typed in Google how many degrees of sep, and then the third option is how many degrees of separation am I from Kevin Bacon?
There it is. I'm
So-
telling you. It's a
No, I
thing.
know it's a thing, but it's 6. It's not 7.
Oh.
Well, fuck
Yeah,
me.
or it's also known as Bacon's Law.
Bacon's Law.
Yeah.
I heard of another really weird, like, idiosyncrasy. Like, there's apparently a Waffle House index, which has to do with kind of like the climate that we're in with like the coronavirus and everything. But the Waffle House index apparently is how bad a catastrophic situation in the world is based off of whether or not the Waffle House in your area is closed.
No way.
Straight up. It's on Wikipedia and everything.
Oh, no.
And apparently everyone's
Is it a
freaking
joke?
out. Well, it's like both.
It says it's used by the Federal Emergency Management Agency.
So it was probably a meme that became a real thing. Anyway, Waffle House is closing across America,
You gotta
so
li-
now it's a real
Oh,
big
God.
You got to listen to this quote. This is quoted from Craig Fugit, who is a former head of the Federal Emergency Management Agency. And the quote is, "If you get there and the Waffle House is closed, that's really bad." I wonder if that's where this came from.
basically.
That's
Shit.
hilarious.
Yeah. I read it somewhere, probably on Reddit,
Yeah, what a surprise.
with all of the, yeah. If you couldn't tell by now, this is a bonus
There's
episode,
books.
guys.
Yeah.
There was a book called "If Waffle House is Closed, It's Time to Panic." There's a book called "How to Measure a Storm's Fury One Breakfast at a Time."
Right, because they're
What do waffles have to do with risk management?
Apparently, Waffle House's thing is that they have such a locked down supply chain
Yeah.
in the U.S. And
They're very prepared.
plus, they can run most of their kitchen on propane, which they don't need to like
You don't need gas
Right.
lines. You can actually just
So it's
tap.
like if Waffle
Sure.
House is closed, you're probably fucked.
That's
Good-
wild.
Good to know. I'm feeling very comforted already, which is
Yeah.
what this episode's supposed to do.
Anyway, here we are amongst the coronavirus panic.
Yeah. So today we're doing a Lorehammer lockdown episode, and everyone knows what's happening with coronavirus. We don't
Well, I
really
hope
need to-
so.
Well, fuck it if they don't. Whatever.
Eric doesn't care.
Yeah,
apparently.
some people.
Well, there's a
don't
difference
care.
between not caring and not knowing.
some.
I'm fully aware.
That's objectively true. Yeah.
But over the next 2 weeks, we're going to release one episode a day. They're just going to be bonus episodes amongst our regular content. So we will be doing like our actual episodes as well.
As well as like our real bonus episodes.
Yeah, exactly. Like listener lores and that kind of thing. But yeah, basically like we're all locked inside. And I know a couple people have reached out and like, oh man, like
What
pretty-
do? What
yeah,
do?
Yeah, exactly. Or even just like, man, I'm pretty lonely right now. It's like, okay, I got to go to bed. See ya. You know?
Oh no.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
I see you on that Discord all the time, Mark. You're providing some kind of service.
Oh, I'm providing services left.
It's
and right.
only sexual.
I'm slinging that Patreon left and right, man. But
Hey,
yeah,
we know UNICEF is asking for money for dealing with impoverished
Oh
areas,
my
but would
God.
you consider Lorehammer?
What do you care about more, your entertainment or starving children?
That's right, yeah.
That's
What's
an
more
easy
important
answer
here?
if you're being
Take
honest.
care of your family first, but then
Lorehammer.
please Lorehammer.
So yeah, we're gonna make a bunch of these episodes where we're just talking with different hosts we've had on. They're usually gonna have a theme to them. Like today's theme is just gonna be we're gonna talk about painting.
Ian and I thought it was about his foot fungus.
Oh no, that's the real virus. Here.
I thought this was an intervention.
You gonna tell everybody about that?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, that's the real coronavirus.
But so today's theme is going to be painting. So we're going to talk about painting a little bit from a very new person's perspective. We get asked all the time, like, how do? And I
Yeah.
answer, you just do. And then they get upset at me. And,
You ever seen the Crystalia skit where he's talking with someone who's like trying to park at his house at a party?
no.
And they call him on the phone and they're like, where do I park? Like, what do I do? And he's like, are you on the street? And they're like, yeah. Well, okay, get out. You did it. Like,
You did.
step one,
Nice.
stop the car.
Just fucking park.
Step
Take
one,
the keys
buy
out of the
some
ignition.
paint. Step two, put the paint on the model.
Yeah.
You did it.
Yeah, it's one of those things that, like, for people who've been in the hobby for a long time, it's like kind of a given, I guess.
for sure.
Yeah.
You take things for granted, things that you just you learned years ago.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Me and Ian, we learned the hard way, before there's YouTube video. No, he's a young guy. Never mind. I learned the hard way where you're looking through
been paying
white
for a while.
dwarfs and... Were you a white dwarf, man?
No.
Okay. I learned the hard
Before
way,
YouTube, at least.
where you had to go through the white dwarf and it's like 3 steps and at the end you have like a golden demon model.
Yeah.
It's like step 1, add like it has like 15 different colors. And step 2, like it's all good.
Sub step 30 of one.
It's that meme where it's like step 1, draw the outline. Step 2, draw the owl.
Step 3, question.
Right.
Step 4,
Yeah.
done.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah. But,
Well, and that's the thing about the GW boxes and stuff. They'll say like 3 colors on the back. Still,
Yeah.
like to this day, they'll have little.
Yeah.
They'll point at like a weapon. Well, not a weapon. I guess weapons are probably
Anything.
3 colors, but like
An
the
armor
perfect
piece
blends on
or a flesh tone.
a heavy metal model, and it's like we used 2 colors on this. It's like fuck you, you did.
you lying scumbag. Yeah. So we'll talk about painting.
Painting.
Well, I'm gonna give a brief low disclaimer. None of us are professionals here.
I am.
Like Ian is a really.
Oh, sorry. No, I'm a professional whiner. That's what I am. Yeah, sorry.
I guess
Ian-
we didn't classify what.
Yeah.
You know,
Kind of
yeah, I am
professional.
definitely professional.
I'm a professional podcaster. If
That's
that
right.
means
There we
anything-
go.
If that means anything to anybody out there, Mom, Dad.
It does not.
No.
No, but like Ian is like a really good painter.
Yeah, he
Like-
literally commissions for money. That's
yeah.
the.
Does that qualify me as a professional?
Oh,
absolutely?
absolutely,
What's
yeah.
the difference?
I don't know.
But like a lot of the tips we're going to be giving today are pretty basic. They're not going to be like, obviously you can't do a masterclass on painting through podcast medium. Like that's not, you want a visual medium, you know?
Yeah.
No, I thrive on my imagination.
All right, now you're just adding that color that you need to add.
That's
Oh,
right.
the
Yeah.
color you
Oh,
want.
that amount. That's right.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I always imagine
So,
the host naked.
It's
too.
going to be very basic and
We
give
are
you just
naked, what?
ideas.
in my mind.
No, like in real, I'm naked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your soul is naked to
Sure.
us right now. It's bare. Why is it quivering?
So's my ass.
Sorry, Mark. Continue.
I'm at a loss. I don't know where to go from here.
Sorry.
But yeah, we're basically just going to be talking about how to get your models up to like a tabletop standard. You know, we're not Golden Demon talking here. Like, we're going to be talking some basics. So, the first thing with painting is obviously having materials to do the painting. And there's many different places to get stuff, and some of them are definitely better than others. Some are cheaper than others. Whatever. So.
Yeah.
One of the very first things you're going to need when you're painting miniatures is you're going to need
2 hands.
2 hands. Well, no, I've seen people paint with their feet.
That's wild.
And their
Paint
teeth.
miniatures with their feet? That's some skill. I bet someone's out there done it.
I watched somebody like complete Dark Souls with a Guitar Hero controller with his feet.
With his feet.
Yeah. No, like this expand. Yeah.
You
so,
know
like,
what? 2 hands is not necessary.
fine.
I
No.
take it back.
Yeah.
I take it back.
But what is necessary is spray paint, unless you have an airbrush. But we'll get on that later.
Like a primer, you mean?
Yeah.
some
type of
way to
spray
base
paint.
and take away the gray plastic of your model.
Like, and this is not an option. Like, you need to get spray paint or an airbrush. You can't just start taking your regular paint and put it onto your miniatures. That's bullshit. Don't even do it.
Eric's making a face that's saying like, I've
He's
done
done
it.
that. Oh, I know. He's also a piece of shit. So it's
Yeah.
like
No surprise there.
no surprise.
Eric's the one person in the gaming group who doesn't have
Painted armies.
painted armies.
Yeah.
So
We actually thought about it
Let's
the
take
other
it one
week.
step
Yeah.
further. Painted models.
That's rude.
Do you have one finished model?
Yeah, all my Necron. I have a bunch of Necron.
Yeah,
I have
most Necrons
I have
are
at least 1,500 points in painted Necron.
Okay.
And based. If it sand
then there you
counts. If sand counts.
Does not.
wait, is it like?
It's literally
just
sand. It does not count. It's not a fully finished
would say
model.
No.
That does
But I
not
do
count.
have some painted models. Painting is tough for me.
Well, hopefully this helps you.
No, it's
Yeah,
Good.
you'll learn a lot in this.
That's why I'm
episode,
here.
Eric. So
I'm here to learn.
So you can get many different types of spray paint. I don't recommend GW spray
paint comes in infinite colors. Just walk
Yeah.
down Walmart, right?
Yeah,
Or
and that's
Superstore,
honestly
whatever.
the way to do it. Like, go to your local Walmart hardwood store, buy spray paint from them, either black or white for your primer. GW is 3 times more expensive, and I swear it doesn't have as much in it. And unlike their paint, you can't tell the difference between products. Some products, like, you can actually tell a quality difference. With their spray paint, I've never noticed a difference.
I would only suggest actually picking Games Workshop paint if part of that paint is going to pop through and it has like a very specific proprietary color.
Yeah, and even at that point, I still wouldn't recommend GW. I would then recommend Army Painter because they
Sure.
have a way bigger variety of color matching spray paint to actual
Interesting.
paint.
I do like the Army Painter sprays if I'm gonna do rattle can stuff.
Yeah. Like, and I haven't bought one, but I know they aren't that expensive. They're like $10, I think, for a can, as opposed to like regular.
I think
8.
that they're 12 and
12?
GW are like 18.
Yeah.
So
Games Workshops is pretty
this
expensive.
is in Canadian, I think, but it's
Yeah.
like the GW ones are expensive.
They're-
Also, Vallejo now sells them.
Yeah.
if
And
you're-
once again, like,
I've
they're
seen
good at-
crazy
They're
colors out of
expensive,
Vallejo.
but they have really nice tones.
Yeah.
Yeah. What? Yeah.
Again, it's like whatever.
But anyways,
It's essential
you
to
don't-
buy spray
But you
paint.
don't have to buy Games Workshop. We've
No.
literally just listed 2 actual brands and then also places where brands don't matter.
Exactly.
So there's many different places you
I see
can
lots
go
of people
to.
use Rust-Oleum and Krylon.
Absolutely.
and
Yeah,
shit,
that's what I
so
use,
it's
so.
fine.
Yeah. So yeah, spray paint. I don't recommend using Games Workshop. It's just too expensive. Like, you can if you want, but why spend your money there when you can donate
Buy more
that
models.
Extra, donate
Oh.
that extra $8 to Lorehammer. You know.
Right. Well, that's a $1 subscription for 8 months.
Yeah. Exactly.
There you
So.
Did you know people can subscribe for just the low price of $1 a month?
And what do they get out of this subscription?
Jack shit.
No.
Oh,
They
sorry,
get
what
the
did-
knowledge of knowing that they are a good person.
Oh, good. Oh, right. Because
Only good people subscribe to
Right.
Patreon.
It's a
Everyone
moral
else is trash.
question.
Yes.
And access to the Discord. Wait, that's free, right?
Yep.
Everything's
Yeah. Okay.
yeah.
who knows?
So next,
You just get a
next,
pat on the back, basically.
You get a thank you.
Yeah.
Well done.
I did it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
There it is.
That's all you get.
Now let me touch your back.
That was
Yeah.
really worth it. $10 a month.
That is not. Anyway,
So a great alternative for spray paints is airbrushing.
Yeah.
Airbrushing is, for those of you who don't know, it's like, you got this.
you take the paint that you actually have, you thin
Yeah.
it down, and you put it through like a pen that aerates it.
Shoots. Yeah.
It's an
shoots.
airbrush, guys.
Yeah.
I'm sure you know what an airbrush
I'm sure
is.
most people
Yeah.
do.
Maybe.
You never
Yeah.
know.
Maybe. But it's a way to turn like your actual paint pots and
Yeah.
very specific color mixings that you want
Yeah.
into sprays. Because some
Yeah.
people build their custom colors and whatever. And,
And-
you can't find that in spray paints.
Yeah.
So you would
Right.
create it and put it in your own airbrush.
Yeah.
You do have to buy specific airbrush primer, though, if you're going to use primer through an airbrush. Vallejo sells them. Badger sells them. GW does
No, GW sells airbrush paint.
airbrush
Or
primer.
primer. Yeah.
Oh, that's a different.
I don't think they do. They have airbrush paint. They have an airline, but I don't know if they have a primer.
Ah, I see. Yeah. But yeah, the nice thing about airbrush too is you can get way more accurate spraying. Where spray pan can, it's pretty all over the place. But
Yeah, it's pretty wide.
yeah. So airbrushes, you can usually get into it anywhere from like $300 to $500. Like, there's a lot of things that.
But with most things in this hobby, you never want to buy cheapest.
That's the thing, and especially like
Yeah.
with an airbrush, like if you buy a cheap one, it's probably just gonna crap out on you pretty quick.
And then what's the point?
Yeah, and an airbrush does have two components. It has like a compressor and the actual airbrush itself.
Yeah.
So you will have to get both those things. But
You can use like a shop compressor if you want. Like if you have one. If you have the luxury of being out in the garage and not bothering anybody, like it's going to be really loud and annoying, but you definitely could use that.
that's
if
when you just
already
pump
have
Lorehammer
one.
though, and then
Right. But
People-
like
then you have
the,
something more annoying to focus on than the compressor sound.
the kind of proprietary hobby compressors are usually smaller, quieter, and more expensive. So that kind of is why it brings it up to that $300 to $500
Yeah.
mark.
Yeah. So I have no experience in this. But
Yeah,
you-
I don't airbrush either.
You have an
Yeah.
airbrush, Ian.
I do.
What brand do you have?
I have the Iwata HPCS, which is, I think, kind of like a mid-range-ish airbrush. I think it retails for $150 to $200,
Just the airbrush itself.
just the airbrush. And then I also spray through a Ninja. I think it's an Iwata Ninja compressor as well.
Okay.
So you bought a compressor specifically designed for airbrushing?
Yeah, well, that's the third compressor I've actually gone through. I bought.
Don't take advice from.
I bought
Maybe
an,
third time's a charm. He's got it right this time.
I bought a certain compressor, which I won't name because I have a lot of other people who have said that it's great. I just think I had really bad luck with it, but I bought it and it crapped out on me. And then I was like, it was probably bad luck. And then I bought it again and it also crapped out on me. So.
Oh.
But it's,
You're the bad juju.
I think I might be. Anyway, I've been using the Ninja and it's like awesome. So.
Nice. Yeah, I feel like nowadays technology and stuff, and with the internet, there's so many different products, and 99% of them are going to be good as long as you don't just go off.
Don't
like-
go for wish.com.
exactly
Right.
and spend $20. You know?
Yeah, that's
Like,
exactly.
you don't need to buy a $1,000 airbrush, but
No,
you shouldn't also
not at
buy
all.
a $20 one. You know, you can get into it for $300 to $500, and
Yeah.
it is a game changer. I think that's going to be my next purchase that I kind of save
Yeah,
for.
it's
I
very
think so.
cool.
Did
Yeah.
it? Yeah, it like really accelerates what you can accomplish.
Yeah.
In terms of painting armies for the tabletop, I would say there isn't anything out there that like would get your army onto the table faster than getting an airbrush.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So if you don't have an airbrush, but even if you do, you still need brushes. So you can buy brushes from anywhere, man. You can go to Walmart and buy brushes. I wouldn't recommend that.
That you could
But
buy
you
on
could.
Wish.
You could.
You could.
You could.
You could use a tack.
Oh my god!
I did.
I know.
You could.
Wait,
You
what?
can. Yeah, yeah.
For what?
When I painted my very first towel.
I hate you.
He used a
horrible.
tack.
Yeah, because I was in high school and I was like stuck in these little fucking cubicles all day. But a brush was too big that people would notice. But a tack was like, just paint.
He could hide it.
What the fuck? That's awesome.
Yeah, you can paint with anything we want.
Yeah.
So there's 1,000 different brands out there, but what it seems like the most popular ones and most easily accessible ones are from GW, Army Painter, and Winsor and Newton Series 7. I've heard great things about them.
That's what I paint with.
Yeah.
You use Windsor and Newton?
Yeah.
What do you use, Mark?
Right now I'm using GW, but I've tried a bunch of different ones. So
If you're just getting into the hobby, I think Army Painter is the best line.
I think
I
Games
would
Workshop
agree
is a
with
little
that.
too expensive
Yes.
until you start like actually taking care of your brushes.
Yeah.
Because apparently they last a long time if you're like
Yeah, if
carefully
you have brush
washing them.
cleaner.
Yeah, and you're using
Yeah.
like chemicals and you understand like how to treat them so you're not like breaking points or bending things.
Yeah.
And I think at that point like I would spring for Games Workshop. But right
Yeah.
now like even I just use like shitty Amazon like
yeah.
$20 and I got like 8 different brush sizes or something. Like,
Yeah, so like I paint with one Winsor Newton size 1 for like probably 75% of what I do, and then I have a bunch of shitty Amazon brushes that kind
Yeah.
of tackle the rest, like the grubby stuff that I wouldn't want to put my nice brush through.
yeah.
I would say that like taking care of your brush is probably more important than what brush you buy.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
Like
for
just
sure.
getting some of that Masters brush cleaner.
Yeah.
You can buy it in like the pomade form or like an actual bar of soap, and you can get it at most hobby craft stores
Yeah,
or whatever.
exactly.
Just like lather your brush up after you're done using it and clean it out, and then you like re-point it, and like that'll keep your brush.
You have yourself a
I've never
For a
done
long
that.
time.
I've never.
Yeah, I just started doing it now.
You have like the bar and
Yeah,
like the cleaner?
Canadian Steve bought me a little tub.
Oh, nice.
He got it
Shit's
for me for the
magic.
tournament actually.
Oh.
So
It's
so I've
really
been
good.
using it since whatever that was, September or something. I don't
Yeah.
know. But yeah, so there's different types of brushes. And like you said, like you want to buy like dry brushes. That we'll talk about how to dry brush later. Yeah, you can just buy a cheap one. You could even buy them off fucking
Makeup
Wal-
brushes.
Makeup brushes, yeah. If you're doing something big, a makeup brush for sure.
No, they're like just amazing. They're better than any dry brush you can purchase. For sure. And they cost like
Blush brushes?
yep, $2
interesting.
at Shoppers. Buy like the bulk whatever. They
Okay.
are better dry brushes most of the time, and
There you go.
cost nothing.
There we go. So yeah, like
Well, if you want pictures, ask Iain on Discord of exactly what brushes he's talking about.
There you go.
yeah. So you can buy different things, but yeah, like text messages. But yeah, like there's different types of brushes. One thing that is a common mistake of new painters is they try to find like a really tiny brush with like
Oh, yeah.
1 or 2 hairs on it, and they think that's what they need.
Yeah, they think that's what gives the fineness and the
Right.
detail.
But realistically, you want a brush that has many bristles that end in a nice crisp point.
Yeah.
And
And something you'll realize really quick if you try painting with those like 1-2 hairs is it doesn't hold paint
doesn't hold
at
paint.
all.
And
No.
it just, in order for it
It'll
to
fray
hold
quick,
paint,
too.
you have to glob the paint on, but then you're painting with this huge glob of
Yeah.
paint.
So don't use those like really, really tiny ones.
No,
They're
yeah.
very specific things.
Yeah, like if you're like doing an eyeball or something like that, like
Even
a
then, like
pupil.
like I said, I use a Winsor Newton size 1 for
Yeah, I think
everything
I use
that's detail oriented.
I think I use a GW small detail brush, which isn't their smallest.
Their
It's-
artificer?
No, that's
No.
the smallest.
That's
Yeah.
the small. I have an artificer.
Right.
Yeah, and I do Space Marine eye lenses with it. Like,
Yeah,
and
I don't
it's-
use my artificer anymore. I found.
Yeah,
Most
yeah.
of the time you don't need to.
Yeah.
I find like for detail stuff, having long bristles is more important than having
The
A super-
1 point or whatever.
yeah, like the Winsor Newton series 1 has like pretty fat kind of bottom near the ferrule, which is like that
the metal.
the metal part,
Yeah.
and then they're pretty long, so it gives you like enough control. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, but it is a common mistake that people try to do. So, yeah, brushes, you can just buy them kind of like if you have money and not too concerned. GW is going to do what is advertised. That's what they do. Everything GW is, it's good quality. You're just paying more than is
Yeah.
necessary. But yeah, if you want to save some money, yeah, you could do Army Painter. They're very good. Or you could even just buy stuff off Amazon or whatever. Makeup brushes,
These-
like you said.
yeah.
Like
I bought some for $20 and I've had them for at least a year.
Yeah. There's 1,000 different products out there. And like I said, as long as you're not buying the $1 thing, just like the airbrush, as long as you're not doing the low end, you also don't need to do the high end.
Yeah.
Like, unless you're like a fucking golden demon painter, 90% of the things that we're talking about, the average person wouldn't be able to tell the difference,
I painted for like 8 years before I bought a Winsor Newton. Like, I just like felt like I wanted to treat myself after a while. And it's a great brush, but you definitely don't need to buy that.
Yeah.
Like, I would say if you're just starting, you need a dry brush,
Yep.
probably like a regular sized brush, be that like a 0 or a 1 or something, or what GW would call it, like the smaller medium layer brush.
Yeah.
And then like a fat wash brush or something.
Yeah.
And like you can probably paint 95% of your models with those 3 brushes.
Yeah. Absolutely.
At the very least, just a tabletop standard.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So we're going to go into paints. Once again, there's 1,000 different brands out there and stuff. The 3 that I like and I hear a lot of buzz about is, once again, GW, Army Painter, and Vallejo.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about GW paint. What's nice about it, like I just said, like GW is great. They are exactly as advertised. You get exactly what it's supposed to do. They do a bunch of different types of paints. They do base paints, layers, dry brushes, textures, washes. They do a bunch of different stuff, and they all work really well. The only problem is they're expensive.
They're quite expensive.
Compared to other brands. But like,
But they're very consistent.
you're gonna get what you
Yeah.
pay for sure. Like I use GW paint because I just like the reliability of it, and also that like the colors they have are typically what you see on GW models. So like ultramarine
It's
blue.
so it's so easy to match.
Very
Exactly.
easy to
Like
color
you're very
match.
obviously looking like you want ultramarines. So instead of trying to find the right Vallejo blue to
Yeah.
get there, you just
Yeah.
go with Games Workshop's.
Buy
the other
ultramarine
nice
blue.
thing too is they label all their stuff, so it's like you do know this is a base paint, it goes on thicker, you know this is a wash. I'm sure other companies do that same thing.
Yeah.
It just seems like GW has it very organized, very easy.
It's very
to,
dummy proof.
Exactly.
In all
Beginner
honesty.
friendly, yeah.
Exactly, and that's why I like it.
Yeah, and they got like a whole system.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, and they're like, even their painting app like is pretty fun to just take a look
Yep.
at and see like how they try and get this effect, and
Yeah.
they really easily put it out for you. These are the paints you do. This is like
Yeah.
the order you put it in. Just so they have some good resources even beyond just their brushes and their paints.
Yeah, for sure. The other one we mentioned is Army Painter. What I really liked about them is just their ability to match their spray paint color to their pot color.
Yeah.
Because 90% of the time when I do an army, like if I was ever doing a Space Marine army and if I was doing Blood Angels, I'd buy red spray paint them red, and then just pick out details, and you're done. And since 90% of the armies you see are fucking power armor, you can do that, and you can literally have a fully painted army in like 2 minutes.
Yeah,
like,
I think
you know?
Army Painter has more colored primers than any other range. Like they have
As far as I could tell, yeah.
lots.
So that was really nice about them. Like it's just so nice that you can, if you do make a mistake, you can go back and touch it up without having to fuck up your original prime. But yeah, you can paint Space Marines just like that.
Yeah, they're good. And then Vallejo is kind of, I don't know, people would argue that it's like higher range, I guess, because there's
I see way different color styles in that.
Well, they
like,
have two-
like their metallic range, even
Yes.
like chromatic and color shifting.
they have
Like that's
quite
just
a
shit I
few
never
different
see.
lines.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The thing with Vallejo is it's made to be realistic. Like their paint's typically made for like World War II tanks or
Well, they have 2 lines, right? They have
I've
Vallejo.
only seen the one.
They have model color, which
Okay.
came out for the historical miniatures,
Yeah.
and that's like neutral tones, green tones,
Yeah,
gray, brown,
all
beige.
of drab, brown, and
which are awesome paints still. And then
Yeah,
they
yeah.
have Vallejo game color, which is
Is that recently new or?
not super new. I mean, I think it's been out for like 5, 10, whatever. But
Okay.
it's
I've never seen it. I've
Sure,
only
yeah.
ever seen their.
I bet a
drab
lot of the
ones.
colors that we've seen out of Vallejo
Yeah.
are actually part of that range. Because like I don't like
or game color.
anytime I see a Vallejo, like it's always like metallics that pop up for me. Like there's no way that metallic color is in their drab range.
Then
right?
they have a.
They have like their alcohol colors
They-
too.
their
and
alcohol metallics, which are
they are
sick.
so cool.
Awesome.
I saw Custodes painted in like that gold.
Yes.
Yeah.
Old
It
gold.
is wild.
Yeah, they're awesome.
Yeah.
Oh my god! I would never do a Custodes. After I saw that, I would never do anything but that. And, like it's just.
It's different though, because you're painting with alcohol. You have to thin it with alcohol. and-
Yeah, I'm sure
synthetic
there's
brushes
so
and all
much to do it. I'm just obviously I don't care.
It's
but-
cool though.
Yeah. Anyways, but yeah, those are the 3 different like main model kinds. What I definitely wouldn't pick paints that aren't designed for models. That's for sure. Like some people just like go to a crafting store and just buy like any paint that they see. And
which, like, go ahead. I mean, if you really want to, you can. I think that the stuff designed for miniatures has finer pigmentation, and it just covers better. It goes farther. It's
you will
designed,
definitely notice the paint for sure, even if you're not a Golden Demon painter.
I would say buy stuff for models also for sure.
Yeah.
Even paintbrushes that we talked about before, how you can buy anything. There are just paintbrushes that are designed for models, and buying the shittiest ones designed for models are better than most brushes that are just out there on the market.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah.
And there's other brands for paints as well, like that we didn't mention.
What do you like?
I paint with mostly Vallejo and GW stuff.
Okay.
That's just because I'm from like a smaller town and I didn't have access to anything else until recently. Scale 75 or Scale Color 75 has acrylic paints that have kind of like a more matte finish. A lot of like commission painter guys on Instagram use that. Chimera Colors is a newer one. P3 from Privateer Press.
Oh yeah, I've heard of them. Yeah.
They have like a super good line of paints, super pigmented.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, if only War Machine Horde guys ever painted their miniatures, they could enjoy it, but
damn,
they don't.
Called out.
They don't do that kind of thing there.
The only real big difference between like the three major brands that we mentioned is that like Vallejo and Army Painter use a dropper bottle, and GW has like the traditional paint pot thing, which for some people is a deterrent. Because like it dries all sticky and crusty around the top.
I don't understand why they
design.
still do the paint pot. Like,
because then
stubborn. Well, it's also like it's a money thing, right?
Yeah.
Like that they literally will dry out faster. You'll have to buy more.
That's so wild.
That's crazy.
I mean, that's just tin hat, but like
no, I don't think that is tin hat. I think that's honestly why they do it. Like,
I bet there's like an actual amount. Like this is the average amount of paint that gets lost out of every paint pot. And if we move to a different dropper, like this is how paint like sales will drop.
Yeah,
because
over
more
a
paint will be
customer's
used.
lifetime, they're spending less on paint.
What's like the generational value even of
yeah.
this? Like what's the 50-year value?
Yeah.
So
like I've probably only gone through paints a couple times.
Most of the time they dry out.
Yeah, exactly. Like usually you don't use a full pot of paint ever. Like the only time I ever did was when I was painting Imperial Knights, and even that was like I bought 2 purples, you know, and I painted fucking 20 Knights or something in the Titan. So yeah, typically they do dry out, which is unfortunate.
It's too bad.
Yeah.
But there are ways to actually move all that paint in those pots when you get them into dropper bottles.
Sure, if you really feel
my roommate did it, and it's like
Nathan did it.
Awesome.
Sure.
I think Nathan said he did it, or he was doing it or something.
It's a time investment, but like it's probably worth it. I mean, for a person like I use airbrush a lot of the time, and like it sucks using GW paints for airbrushing. Like
just pulling the paint out of it, and how much you lose on pouring and
that part. Like that's
absolutely.
just annoying. A dropper bottle is just a lot easier, especially for mixing paints on a wet palette and stuff.
I was
like
just
that.
gonna say, like, imagine just putting a drop on a wet palette and having it sit there forever instead of having to load it onto your brush and then put it on your wet palette.
Because is that equal to 2 drops of paint from a dropper bottle? Who knows, right?
Yeah,
Like,
Who knows? Who
really
knows how much you actually lose, like in your transfer? And yeah. Anyways,
if you buy GW, you're not going to be let down.
No, they're great.
If you buy Army Painter, they're going to be great.
Yeah.
They're going to be a little more cost effective. You can buy some color matching paint. It's nice. Vallejo apparently has some great metallics and some great
so cool.
crazy colors. Like
I'll find a picture and I'll send it to you, Mark. It's so amazing.
So that's kind of the products that you use. You know, you have your spray paint to base models. You can use an airbrush as well. You got brushes and you got paint. That's what you need to paint.
Yep.
We're going to go into some techniques that are basically everyday painting techniques that if you paint a model, you're most likely going to use.
Technique number 1, don't
do it.
Don't paint.
The first thing is...
Pay someone to paint for you.
That's right. Find a friend who has an airbrush and get them to airbrush your army for you.
Yes, sir.
And then...
Speaking from experience.
And then just get them to paint all the power weapons on your...
Just slowly. Oh, wow, you have that model.
Why don't you just like pop all the purity seals for me? Right? Like...
Yeah. There you go.
Why don't you use your alcohol or your oil wash for me instead of me doing it, Ian?
Pay up.
That's my... I heard that.
So the first kind of technique that I started implementing to like up my painting game was definitely like getting a wet palette. They have them available online.
It's like $15 to $20 for like a shitty but really works fine wet palette.
Yeah, and like I don't even use those. Like I literally.
Oh, you made one, didn't you?
Yeah, I made one, and I might buy one at some point. But
So tell us what a wet palette does.
so more or less, like it's a couple of layers. Usually, there's a foam sponge or a paper towel that's wet on the bottom, and then some kind of
Permeable. Yeah.
like parchment paper or some kind material like that.
Specifically designed for this.
Right, that allows some of the water to flow through the parchment paper or the material into your paint, so you can put your paint onto a palette and it keeps it moist for a long time. Like, I'm sure if any of you guys at home are like painting for more than a couple hours with a regular plastic palette, you take paint out, you paint like your marine for 20 minutes, and then you go back and your paint is all tacky.
Yeah.
Or like it's already hardened over. If you're using a wet palette, that won't happen. Like I can paint all night on a wet palette. The color won't dry out as long as I'm going until I like run out of paint. But I can even put like a lid on it and come back the next day and kind of like reincorporate the paint a little bit and keep going.
I don't think mine normally last beyond like a 1 day thing, but even just like 1 day, like
if you had colors mixed and you had to get up or something, you just put a lid on it and then you come
absolutely.
back and it's like,
like a wet paint
what was
is
my ratio?
Amazing.
Yeah. So, and the reason why you put it on a wet palette too is just so you can then control easier how much you put on your brush. You can then put it back, like
you're not just globbing straight out of the paint pot
like
with your
fucking
brush.
savage.
Yeah, or attack.
I guess even moving down, if we're targeting beginners, like a palette in general.
Oh sure, yeah,
is
it's better than pulling
it out of a pot. I see this
What's your opinion
blasphemous
on,
shit that Mark does when he paints.
What's your opinion on eating the paint?
I eat the paint. That's fine.
The good man.
When I was asking
Good
Ian about
man.
wet blending,
Yeah.
he's like, "How do you feel about putting your paintbrush in your mouth?" And
Yeah.
I was like, "I asked you a question about wet blending, not sex positions." Like,
Yeah, I mean,
we'll get there when we do wet blending, right?
right. Yeah, I'll talk about it. But
Yeah. So a wet pallet's even better, but a palette is good.
And they're cheap.
for sure.
I totally think that is a very worthwhile investment for painters.
Like everything we're going to talk about, you can YouTube videos on how to do it. We'll get into that later where some good resources are, but you can video or YouTube like how to make a wet palette yourself for like $5. It's like a Tupperware container.
I'll tell you right now. You take a Tupperware.
I guess it's not really
You
a
go to
visual
Amazon.
thing.
No, you take if you buy one of those GW basing kits.
Yeah.
It's like a really shallow, probably like, I don't know, half
If
an
you're
inch.
using visuals, look at your hands move.
Okay, half an inch height Tupperware, really shallow. And then you empty it out, and then you put a paper towel in the bottom, put a square piece of parchment paper over top
And
of that.
where does my dick go?
yeah.
And then you
Our dick.
masturbate
Okay.
into the wet palette. That's what moisturizes the parchment paper.
So creamy.
So creamy.
Creamy wet blends. You just squirt some water in, and then it keeps your paint good to go.
It's so good. Like
You use a wet palette?
I absolutely do.
Nice.
It's changed so much. Like I absolutely hated painting before a wet palette.
Yeah.
Now I just mildly dislike painting.
Big difference.
But like I used to never be able to spend longer than like half an hour painting. I hated it so much.
It's honestly annoying going back to your paint pot over and over.
But now
again.
like even just recently I sat down for like 4 hours in one stretch and I didn't even think about it. And it's honestly the only difference is the wet palette between what I was doing. So.
And that your entire army was based.
That's right. Yeah, that's true. That's a big deal.
So you got your wet palette, you got all your brushes in front of you. The very first thing you want to do is called priming a model, and you either use a can of spray paint or an airbrush, and you spray your entire model everywhere. The color that you spray will depend on what you're painting. I'll talk more about that later. But basically what priming does is it allows the paint that you're going to be putting on the plastic to stick to the paint, because if you try to just put it right onto the plastic, it's going to smudge and
it doesn't
smear,
bond
and
well.
it won't take. So this is 100% essential. Whether you use a can of spray paint or an airbrush, this step is 100%.
Or whatever brand you decide to use, just
doesn't matter.
Always cover your
Yeah,
model.
I've seen people that don't do it. It's just like, come on, like
Yeah, just prime it. And
Just-
don't use
just
brush
pri-
primer because you'll be really sad.
yeah,
Just
no,
rattle
you-
can.
Use a rattle can or an airbrush. Like, it's not negotiable, this one.
Now, is there like a specific color? Because I know every time I base, it's almost always black, regardless of what I'm painting the model.
Yeah.
It's almost always black, unless I'm doing like Necron and I'm literally priming on
Metal.
metal.
Yeah.
Yeah, in that case, I'll just use the metal. But like even for
Yeah.
my Grey Knights, like there was no Grey Knight steel that I could prime with, so I primed with black. But
Yeah.
would it have been a problem if I primed with bright yellow or dark red or even gold shiny, right? Like
So
what's
it-
the line there?
It really depends on what you're painting it afterwards.
Yeah.
I'd say like if you're gonna do, I don't know, what's an example, like Eldar or some kind of bright colored thing, like maybe your final color is a bone or like, you know, yellow or something, probably want to prime it either gray or white.
Yeah.
Because the finish is just going to be a lot easier to achieve than over black. Like you'll need 10 layers of yellow over black to get it.
even
to-
though
so-
that you're completely covering this primer and like no part of it might even ever show on the model, you still need to be conscientious of what color you're picking,
Yeah.
just for ease of
Yeah.
what you paint later.
I'd say, like,
you still
yeah.
need to understand like the color, like how it's going to affect the finished product in your model,
Yeah.
before you just go by random color.
I prime a lot of stuff black because I just kind of prefer it in terms of, I don't know, I've always done it.
Yeah.
But I also will
that
do
also
like,
just seems to be my natural to go to.
Yeah,
is
I don't know.
black, too.
I don't think I prime anything black anymore,
No.
ever.
oh really, you do gray?
No, I do whatever color the model's
You just
gonna
go
be.
like the negative space thing.
Yeah.
I don't know what that means.
Where like you do like one color and then you just pick out the small details, and that color is like you don't build your layers, you just
I'll still build layers, but I'll start, if I'm painting yellow, I'm gonna spray paint it yellow, then build to the yellow I want to get to.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
easier.
And that's totally
Yeah.
a way faster way than applying even another layer
Yeah.
underneath the yellow that you're talking about.
Exactly. So it
Also,
very,
yellow on black is allegedly one of the worst things.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
very
Apparently it's worse than white. I don't know if is that true?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yellow,
That's so crazy.
it has, for some reason, the pigment's just thinner. It's just, it's weird how it
And like
works.
not all paints are created the same, right? Like
That's true.
some are way more transparent than others for like no real reason that I can
Just the thrill of the
decipher.
game.
Yeah. Just throwing you a loop, a little curveball.
There's lots of stuff you can do with that. Like I prime my stuff black, and then most of the time I'll spray it like gray from an angle at the top, or like white from the top, so you get like a
A
natural
weird shadow effect.
gradient
going
or a
on.
light effect on it, and then you
Yeah.
can like build off of that too.
Yeah.
But yeah, always prime.
Always prime
Always
is the
prime.
That's the
takeaway.
lesson.
Yeah. that is the lesson.
Just prime it.
The next thing you do is it's called base coating, and what this is you just apply an even coat. We'll just take Space Marines for example. So you spray paint them black, and you're doing Ultramarines. So now you want to do a base coat of blue on all the power armor. So you just you block in all the power armor blue. That's your next step.
Thin your paints.
Yeah,
Do a couple
coats is usually
thin
good.
layers. Duncan always
too thin
says
paints.
2 thin coats.
Yeah,
Too thin coats, not paints. Yeah.
But it seriously makes such a difference.
Yeah.
Like it is kind of tedious to paint something with thinner layers because it's going to take longer, but like it genuinely gives you a lot better of a finish in the end.
yeah,
I know, like when I was painting like Necron destroyers, they have that really flat, smooth body surface on the end.
Yeah.
And if I was to show you two models, it's very obvious which ones I took the time and I thinned down and I did like 3 coats,
Yeah.
as opposed to one where I just like,
Flat
all right, spread
surfaces
the paint.
really share it or
Yeah.
show that.
Another thing is something I noticed, and like you can tell me if this is weird or just me or whatever, but when I
It's
did
weird.
like, well, thank you. When I did the thin coat method, like the first 2 coats I put on, they don't cover the model.
No.
Like you're
very
almost
transparent.
applying just like a glaze effect almost.
Yeah.
It's very obviously still the base color,
Yeah.
but you're just slowly building up that smooth layer.
Yeah.
So even if it looks like your model isn't like completely covered in that paint and it's kind of like weird, like that's to
good.
me that tells you that like you've thinned it properly to where you're really just trying to build up that layer.
Yeah, like when you're base coating, you can't really thin it too much. You're not gonna fuck anything up by having it too thin, but
Yeah.
you will if it's too thick. So
Yeah.
like err on
Yeah.
the side of thinning your paints and just do a couple of small layers. Like it's just worth it in the end,
Yeah,
especially
you get
for if you're
such a
washing over top
smooth-
of it.
and you get such a smooth look when you
Yeah.
thin those.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the first step. You put a base color of all the colors you want down. You know, you pick out your reds, you pick out your blues for your ultramarines. You know, you just do all that. Then another technique that you would do probably next is it's called dry brushing. And basically, dry brushing is you grab like a piece of paper towel and you grab your dry brush, or a makeup brush apparently is really good.
I'm telling
Oh.
you.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. And you put some paint on your brush and then you wipe it all off on the paper towel until you have like just, you know, no paint really left on your brush. And then you can test it out on your hand. If you wipe it on your hand and a bunch of paint streaks appear on your hand, keep wiping it on the paper towel till like barely any paint comes off. So now that you have your brush kind of in this state, you can brush over your model. And what this does is anytime there's an edge, the paintbrush will then get in contact with that edge, and then the paint will come off only on the edges.
Yeah, it intentionally kind of highlights for
Exactly.
you the details that are protruding, and it'll leave your base coat in like the valleys.
Exactly, yeah. So, you know, and this dry brush, you usually want it to be a brighter color than your base coat, but it doesn't necessarily have to be, but
Well, it kind of does.
it
Well, it would
depends on, like,
create a weird effect.
It would create a very
if
weird
It
effect
was
if
the
it
low
wasn't.
light on the edges.
Yeah,
but,
it would,
yeah.
but you know, I'm sure you could come up with some type of situation where you don't, but 99% for sure. Yeah.
If I had one suggestion for dry brushing, take off, like if you're like trying to take off paint and you're wondering like that's probably enough, you should probably take off a little more paint.
Oh yeah, like
Like-
better less than more.
Especially in this, like I fucked up a lot of models just
Yeah,
by
if-
going way like you
If your
think
brush
you
is
go
not
good.
dry,
Yeah.
then it will be
It's
very
crazy.
streaky.
Like
very
it
streaky.
should look like there's no paint on your brush
Yeah.
effectively.
Yeah, and I found using your hand is a good technique. If you dry brush on your hand, you can like do the knuckles of your fingers or whatever, and those ridges will pick up and let you know if you've taken enough off or whatever.
Another good thing is like I paint with like a latex glove because I'm like doing a lot of airbrushing. I bought some like black latex gloves so I don't get my hands all.
Oh, like you see barbers use.
Sure, and it's really easy to see a dry brush on
black.
black latex
Yeah, yeah.
gloves if you're just like because it'll just
Yeah.
pick up on that.
Yeah, and the less you put on, the better, because you can just keep brushing the same
Exactly,
spot
but
15 times.
But
to
if
build
you
up that
pull,
color.
if you put too much on,
Yeah.
you have to rebase your entire thing before you can go back.
Yeah.
Because it's so easy to add, but it's really bitch to like take off
Yeah.
that stuff.
Another thing about dry brushing that a lot of people kind of get frustrated with as a beginner is this chalky finish, and that's another thing from that I noticed stopped happening as much when I bought makeup brushes instead of the traditional dry brushes.
okay,
For whatever reason, they just seem to not appear as dusty and chalky looking afterwards. And
Yeah,
also,
yeah.
if you're getting frustrated with a chalky finish, I would say never make dry brushing your last layer. Always finish a dry brush with a wash, and it'll take away some of that dustiness.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
exactly.
yeah,
So that's even a way to darken if you've potentially added a little too much
Yeah.
on.
something like that. Yeah, and you can also like just do a layer of Lamian medium, which is the GW kind of
like
wash
isn't it a
pigment
thinner?
medium. It's a thinner. It's a medium. It's
Interesting.
you could just like do a layer of that, and that'll also like take away some of the chalkiness.
Yeah. Dry brushing is really good for metals and stuff.
Guns.
Yeah, any
Yeah.
type of like
Texture, anything
Mechanical.
textured.
yeah. Oh yeah, exactly, for sure. Like you can't dry
Do you dry brush flesh or cloth?
if it has ridges on it. Cloth,
Yeah.
sure. Yeah.
Depends what it is, really. I mean,
Yeah.
like Tyranids did a fucking lot of dry brushing on their
Oh,
flesh.
on like the carrot. Oh, on the flesh.
Totally.
Oh.
Yeah.
Anytime there's ridges, like you cannot dry brush a Land Raider side panel door Like it's just flat. There's nothing there for the paint for the dry brush to catch. So anything that has ridges you can utilize to dry brushing.
Stipple it.
The fuck is that? I didn't even write that down in the notes.
Stippling is like dry brushing, but you're stabbing it.
Of course, yes. Of course.
Stab the model.
Yeah.
So after you have your dry brush, like your model starts to look pretty good, but then you want to add a wash. And what a wash is, it's a really watery paint that when you apply it to the model, it's super watery. So it will run it into any cracks, any crevices, and darken it up. So for this one,
creates very realistic shadow.
Yeah, so you want to do a darker paint.
Occlusion.
Yeah.
Ooh, is that the technical term? Mr. Fancy Word Man?
Yep.
Oh, thank you.
So, if we're going back to our ultramarine example, you have a medium blue, you have a light blue that you just dry brush with, and now you have a dark blue wash. So now you just wash the whole model. And it just goes into the cracks and it gives it depth. It defines it a little more.
Yeah, washes are such a versatile kind of like tool.
Yeah, I just remember like when I started painting, like we didn't have all these fancy different fucking things. Like you had to make your own washes, and then every time you made one, it was completely different than the last one.
Right, because GW didn't used to make washes; they just used to make inks, and inks are a little different, right?
Yeah.
They're a lot more pigmented. Like if you use an ink to try and wash something, all of a sudden, it's
a good time.
Yeah, it's
especially when you're following
just
there's
not gonna
3
work.
steps to Golden Demon Standard, and you're like.
yeah, exactly.
Checks out.
Yeah. But yeah, wash is a really simple, like, you can make your own wash. Like if you have a color that you want specifically, you can do like, a 25% paint and then a 75% just add water or a medium to it.
I would say like water works fine.
Yeah.
The only difference that I notice between using a medium and water to thin your paints down for a wash is that if you let your wash kind of sit unattended in on a flat area or something, like it pools in a weird place, if you thinned it with water, it will leave more of like a weird coffee stained effect than if you would thin it with medium.
Okay.
Like
interesting.
Wouldn't medium thicken it a little bit? I thought medium was thick, the lamium.
I think you're thinking of what is it called?
Lamium
like
medium.
The matte.
It's thicker than
The
water.
varnish.
Like it's more viscous in some ways, but not really.
Huh.
But like,
So even when you mix the wash with the Games Workshop medium, it will still run.
I always thin it with Lamy and
okay.
medium because I think that's the medium that they use to thin it to a wash,
Oh, interesting.
like in the first place.
Okay. I have some lamium medium. I've literally just never cracked it open. I was saving it for my swords.
I personally almost never wash straight out of the pot. I almost always like 50-50 it with Lamy and medium just because I find it's like easier to kind of control that way.
Well, it's one of those things like you can always add more, but
Yes.
it's really hard to take away.
Yeah.
Right.
So, and obviously your level of like what you're desiring is very different than what me or even Mark or definitely beginners are.
Yeah.
looking
Yeah,
for,
wash
right?
straight out of the pot, kids. It's fine.
Yeah, it's fine.
and then maybe at some point you'll notice like, hey, like this is actually a little too dark, and you just start experimenting.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But to start, just out of the pot, no problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, you do that, and bingo bango, you're now done like a tabletop model, like
Pretty much, yeah.
like
But base it.
very tabletop quality. You know.
Did you say base it or basic?
Base it with base
Yes.
materials.
We'll get to that.
The model itself is done.
The model
Yes.
itself is done. There are extra techniques we'll get into right now. But like at this point, like I'd be happy to play against a model that was dry brushed and washed. You know, like it's not going to be the best, but it's going to do the trick. But if you want to get a little fancier, so you've done those steps, and now you would do what's called like an edge highlight if you really aren't getting to like the next level. So an edge highlight is basically where you go along the edge of it's like a dry brush, but you're doing it
It's more intentional, yeah.
Yeah.
So you get a nice brush and you basically just go along the edges of, anything that would catch light essentially. So a good example is like on Primaris Marines, they have like the knee pad and they have that rim on the top of their knee pad. That's a perfect spot to add just like a nice bright edge highlight. Lots of people, when they're doing this, they actually end up using the point of their brush and they try to use the point to bad. Not good. That's not what you want to do. You actually want to use the side of your brush, and that way you don't get that stabby
You just fuck it up less.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, it's
'Cause
so much easier to get just the corner
Yeah.
if you're running the brush like perpendicular
Exactly.
to the actual angle itself.
And to
So-
build on that, like rotate your model so that you're like hitting it at a comfortable position, so that you're running your brush along it at such an angle that it's like not awkward for you. You don't want to like hold your brush upside down so that you can hit it.
And are
like,
the feet involved?
right? Like just
What do I do with my feet?
you can clap them.
Yeah. So
Is that the weird version of clapping your cheeks? Like clap those feet?
I'll clap
Nope.
those feet. Nope.
with edge highlighting, it's like anything. You could take it to the next level, and then you do bright blue, and then you do another brighter blue.
Yeah, and you
an
go a
even
little
finer.
heavy. Exactly.
Or,
and so you can really build light even on edge highlighting.
Yeah, exactly. And
But that's so much more tedious.
and then the
Looks
other
good though.
It
Oh,
looks
yeah.
amazing.
Oh, yeah,
but
for
how many
sure.
more hours does that add instead of the quick dry brush, right?
Exponentially more.
It's
And
crazy.
There's kind of two ways to edge highlight as well. You can literally edge highlight every piece of edge.
And that's kind of what Games Workshop box art looks a lot like.
Yes, exactly. You can definitely tell they highlight every edge. Or you look at the model from the top down, or even if you're really fancy, you get like a flashlight and you point the flashlight down onto the model.
where you want the light to hit.
And then you paint anything that light hits. You edge that, and basically, it's supposed to look like light is shooting down. It's supposed to be picking up light. Or if you're
Which
doing
is very cool. I think that's
yeah.
it gets a very cool look to it. But that's not something I'm comfortable with doing, right?
it's a little more work for sure.
Yeah.
But like even without the flashlight, like you can literally
Just
look at
edge
the model
highlight
and
the
you
top
can
of surfaces. Right?
exactly. You can look at the top and you can be like, oh yeah, I can see all that. Like
for sure.
I know some people have done like the flashlight. I forget exactly how or what they use, but it was kind of cool because then when they painted it, it was a good way to keep track of whatever.
I mean, for me, that's like what that zenithal priming achieves. Like when I prime something from the top down with white after I've primed it with black, I see what the flashlight effect is doing in paint, and then I can just I can visualize where those shadows are supposed to be. And if I'm painting something for like a display quality, this doesn't really apply to beginners. I'll prime it like that and then take a picture of it, put it up on my monitor, and then I see where the shadows are from multiple angles, and I can reference my model and just like, okay, I know that there's supposed to be volume there or whatever.
Yeah, there's levels to everything like that. I've never even considered taking pictures.
That's very cool.
You don't have to do that, but
No, that is
we can.
But yeah, so the effect of the edge is to just make it look like the edge is catching stuff, or the light is catching the edges. So the next technique is called layering. So a good example of layering is like anytime you see power weapons where it's like changing from blue. I'm just gonna stop
Up
using
to white.
Yeah. Green. We'll go with green.
Go with orc flesh.
Orc flesh, sure. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's,
Orc flesh in the valleys is very dark.
Yeah.
And it'll brighten all the way up, like on the bulge tips of the muscles or bones or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. And the way you do this is you really water down your paint and you just start kind of putting coat
Layer
after
layer.
Not as thin as a wash,
No.
but you're thinning it down more than you would like a base paint, and you're just slowly building up.
It makes me think
transitions.
of topographical maps.
Yeah, kind
Where
of.
how like color is built on elevation. It's the exact same way in this. Like there's less color in the valley, and then as you peak up to whatever part you're working on in the model, you apply more and more and more of your layer.
Yeah, when you're layering, you're
so
always
it gets
leaving
thicker at the top.
Yeah, you're always leaving a tiny bit of the color before underneath your layer, and then you're moving closer and closer
to the
with
middle.
your brighter color to the part that is going to be hitting the light the most.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so this is very time consuming because you got to then wait for every fucking layer to dry and stuff, but the effect is going to be awesome.
It's very cool.
Like,
Those well done are
Yeah.
very good.
Yeah. I really don't do a lot of layering.
No?
Not anything too crazy. Like
Yeah, I don't really think you have to if you're just doing tabletop stuff. Like,
No.
I mean, you could make something look a little bit better than tabletop if you're going to do like a base coat, a wash. You reapply your base coat as a layer and avoid like where the wash settles. So
Yeah, those weird lines or whatever.
Yeah, so you're reestablishing your base color and then like you could apply one step above that as a layer and then edge highlight, and it probably looks better than most people's models, like with you know one step kind of folded in to the GW process.
Yeah.
It'll look awesome.
Yeah. Anything else about layering?
No, there's glazing, which is kind of taking it a step further.
Yeah, I've never worked with a glaze, or like you mentioned the ink. I've never done either of those before.
That's like basically you're taking a wash, like that kind of consistency, maybe thinner, and you can use it like there's like none on your brush, and you just kind of can use it for blending or color transitions or shifting the tone of something. Yeah, it's basically like just you would apply it between your layers to like create a blend or something, right?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Or like change the color.
Yeah, I'm gonna try layering for the first time with my power weapons on my Grey Knights.
Yeah.
And then also I'll try wet blending for the first time on because there's like a couple flames on a couple models, and I'll actually try and build up like yellow to orange to black on that.
Yeah.
Maybe like a hit of blue, like a dot of blue right in the center or something. But yeah, I'm kind of curious to see how that goes for me.
I've never done wet blending either, but that is basically you just take two types of watery paint and you put them both down side by side.
And then you brush in a very specific direction to draw one paint into the other.
Yeah.
Because I think in the way I'm thinking, like I'd never want to brush down. You always start at the base and you brush those colors up. Right?
Depends, yeah. You just want to blend them together in whatever way you do that. But yeah, I don't do a lot of wet blending.
No.
Yeah, you're not wet blending entire armies, like
right. No, that's like
it's a very
a lot of these like advanced techniques we're talking about are like, I really want to paint my chapter master
exactly,
and I want to make him look just different from the rest of my power armor.
I want to show that I put in hours.
Something. Yeah, right, exactly.
Where typically, you can just base coat, dry brush, and wash if you're just trying to get models.
Your rank and file.
Yeah.
Yep.
So up next we got the airbrush.
Airbrushing is like, I mean, it's a tool, right? Some people are kind of weird about airbrushing. Some people are like you're cheating if you're using an airbrush. It's kind of like a taboo thing, which I don't really get.
Know.
To me, it's just another
people
tool.
like Christian who are out there and they just have to be mad at everything, It's the real scum of the earth,
Oh my God.
For me, it's just like, it's awesome for base coating. It's really cool to kind of like skip that layering. Like you can just load another lighter color into your airbrush and just like blast it from an upper angle, and you've kind of achieved layering by just getting some like natural highlights in there.
I think it all just goes to like, what do you want your models to look like? Because there are some
that's
looks
very dependent.
There are some looks that airbrush will give you that cannot be achieved with your standard brush, and there are some looks that like brushing will give you that you just can't do if all you had was an airbrush.
Yeah, exactly.
So like what
good
effect
luck
do you
layering
want?
a tank huge flat panel, like it's gonna be fucking brutal. But with an airbrush, you just fucking hit
Absolutely,
it up.
yeah.
So,
good luck painting like eye details with an airbrush.
Yeah.
Please tell me you don't actually do that. Is that a thing? Can you? Because it seems like an impossibility in my mind.
If you're doing like glowing lenses or something, maybe.
Sure, but like an actual eye, you can't do.
Probably wouldn't want to.
Okay.
No.
You can do anything. There's people who can do anything.
You can do anything. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
But they're different. They're different tools. I think that's the right way to put it.
Yeah, and you can do most of them with either of these mediums, be that brushing or airbrushing. But
yeah. If there's one technique that was like your go-to with an airbrush, what would it be?
It's probably like just creating.
It's that shadow hitting it from the top, isn't it?
Yeah, it's creating transitions before I go in and detail everything. Like if I'm doing a commission for like even if it was just like a Space Marine army or something, I would base coat it. I would go in with a lighter color and airbrush that from the top, and then maybe like one more like even lighter tone from like the very, very top angle. And then I would go in and like do all my edge highlighting and shadow everything or whatever, right? Like I'm just going in and creating some extra transitions so it looks a little bit more interesting than just like the flat base coat.
Yeah.
And it does create a very noticeable effect.
Oh yeah.
It's very cool. It's the first time I've seen it in person, I think.
On the
Liber Malleus chapter that you did. Yeah.
Very fucking good. Up next we got, do you have anything else about airbrushing?
No, it's cool. Don't be a weirdo. Just airbrush if you want to.
Sure. Makes sense.
Don't take the flack. You're not a cheater.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah. Up next, we got weathering. This can be very complicated where you're like fucking taking, what's the one texture paint GW does? It's like
Typhus corrosion.
You're putting down like actual chunks and like making things look
So there's so
grimy
much.
and-
Like there's even like blood effects that you can add through all this. And
that's not weathering.
Sure. Why
Sure.
not? Sure it is.
Yeah, like you can go crazy and you can like really like do crazy rust effects and like hardcore stuff. But
GW actually made it pretty easy to do a lot of that weathering stuff with their technical paints.
yeah, and it definitely is. Yeah, you smother that typhus
Weathering
corrosion.
definitely
and
used to
then-
be kind of a question mark in my brain.
Yeah, you have to use to get like compounds and stuff.
There's lots of pigments and stuff,
It's
like
fucking
dry
crazy.
compounds. Yeah.
Yeah. But if you're just, once again, we're kind of getting to like that tabletop level. If you're trying to weather, you can grab like a sponge. The best place, like think like your carrying case, how they have that foam on the inside. Even like
the bubbles are very small.
yeah, even the soundproofing in here would probably be like a thing, you know?
The pluck foam that you get in your battle case, though,
Yeah.
is like great because you can literally just
Pluck
like
it out.
take one of those sections and then it's big enough to fit in your hand and blot.
Yeah. So what did you call that stabbing dry brush technique?
Stippling.
Stippling, yeah. So that's pretty much what you're doing. So you're
Yeah.
taking your foam, you're getting paint on it, then you're getting 99% of that paint off, and then you just start stippling places on the power armor or
Whatever you're
weathering.
trying to weather.
Looks
yeah.
really good on like rhino treads or something.
Yeah,
right? Like
yeah.
you could carry it over from the treads onto the bottom of the chassis a little bit
Yeah.
and make it look like it's been running through the mud or something.
Yeah, exactly. You just start stippling away different things. So like, yeah, you could do a
Or you have like
effect,
you
or
just
could
have like
do,
an entire chapter of rusty boys.
Right,
You, like,
yeah.
do their entire army. They look like they're corroding and
Yeah.
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 It's
So
really
it-
easy.
Yeah, it's very easy and it's going to look good kind of just for tabletop. It's going to take it to that next level without actually requiring any skill.
Yeah,
It's the
it-
big thing. Like,
You could do like a really cool reverse edge highlight by literally stippling like a brown on the edges of models and then taking like a metal afterwards and then like stippling a little bit of like a metal on top of that edge and it just looks like the paint would be flicking off of,
Yeah.
Sure,
of
yeah,
that
yeah.
area. So it's like you're making the edges darker kind of because that's what would be banging into walls and all of that stuff.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you could hit it up with a little bit of the rust or whatever that they have, like Riser Rust, or you
Yeah.
know, you can go really deep in weathering. Some people go real fucking deep. You know, they find places where like water would be dripping and they do like water drips on it. Like you can go really crazy, but
Throw it in the garbage can and take it out 3 days later.
you could go. You're gonna be
Smells
crazy.
Like, smells like bananas, coffee, and
Yeah,
eggs.
circles rot.
But yeah, like this sponge effect, like it would be useful for most armies, and it's super easy to do. Anytime there's any type of metal is where you'd do this. Like
I've
you're not,
seen a couple cool like rusted Necron.
yeah, like you're not doing this to somebody's face. You're not weathering yourself, but you could, I guess, with like a brown, like with a dirt, if you wanted to. Like
Do like a red in as well, make it look like it's burned or off or something. Or
Yeah,
muscle
like
is exposed. or-
creativity it's important, I guess.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
can't teach that, unfortunately.
No. And
Yes,
then
we can.
the final thing before your model's done is basing. So there's a bunch of different ways
Another
to do
thing
it.
that you could literally
Get lost
spend
in.
so much time doing is basing.
The common thing I see is, and it's really good, is the GW texture paint where they have different effects. Basically you glob on a whole bunch onto your base, and then when it dries, it creates a different effect. So some of them clump, some of them create like gravel looking things, like
Some of them crack.
some of them, yeah, exactly. So
Some of them look like ice.
yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that's so crazy. Like
Yeah.
they have like that even that translucent effect when they're done, so you can see whatever what was on the bottom.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, that's a pretty new development. Like those texture
The
paints
basing?
Yeah.
came out
Yeah.
like within the last 2 years. But you know, like taking some fine salt rock or whatever, you
Yeah.
know, like it's gravel or sand, like and just dip your base in PVA glue and put
Yeah.
some sand on it and let it dry and
Yeah,
paint it,
exactly.
like
Some people will buy just a shit ton of flock, which is it's supposed to look like grass, and they just put their entire base with this grass. Like there's a number of different ways to do it.
I would say like if you're not going to use the GW texture paint, I would base your model before you prime it
Yeah.
because then it's like, you know, the rock or the sand or whatever cork you've glued on your base
that you're gonna have to
Yeah.
paint
you're
anyway.
gonna have to paint it. So
Yeah.
if you didn't do that,
After your model's done, you might
you might be kind of fucked. So
Yeah.
think of your base before if you're not going to use the texture paint. If you're going to use the texture paint, you can paint your whole model and then just swap that on the base afterwards, and it'll still look cool.
Yeah. I typically do my bases and my models 100% separate from each other and then just glue the model on top of the base.
Oh, fair enough. Yeah, there's that technique too.
But
There's lots of like cool resin bases you can buy out there. Even GW makes like the pre-sculpted bases from the Shattered Dominion or the
Yeah, exactly. So
Like,
and then you
lots
just
of stuff.
paint it like how you normally paint something. But
you apply like a base, you apply a wash.
Yeah. But like the texture paint, like if you're just trying to get stuff on the table, the texture paint's amazing.
Yeah, it's very cool.
Clump it on.
Yeah. And you can really sculpt some of that stuff.
Yeah,
too.
yeah. If you really want to, you can
totally.
mix different texture paints together and come up with something crazy if you wanted.
And most of them like you can dry brush over top. You can
no,
wash
no.
over top or something.
This is not an option. This is you do.
Yeah.
I fucking hate it when people just
Yeah, it would look
slap
really
the
bad
texture
without
paint
it.
on and they're like, well, no, I base. It's like, no, you still got to give that bitch a wash and a dry brush. Otherwise, that base is not done.
No, you're not creating the full depth that you can. You treat the base just as like another part of the model.
Yeah, you still
I-
give
be
it depth and you
painted
still
and-
highlight it.
When I started in the hobby though, like I was super guilty of not basing anything. Like, and it looks so bad. Like it looks so fucking bad without basing your models.
Yeah.
Base your models.
It's such a difference.
One thing that I almost wish I seen more of was clear bases. I know some companies are starting to sell them, and then you don't have to worry about it. And if you're playing a lot of games, then your models will always match the board. It's fucking sweet.
I have a buddy who did his whole Sisters of Battle army like that, and he had a whole bunch of the jump infantry just on like the clear flying bases or whatever. So yeah, looks cool.
Yeah, it looks really cool.
I like clear bases too.
Yeah, it's one of those other things that has this weird stigma to it for some reason. It's just we're all used to seeing based models, but realistically, everything should be on a clear base unless you want to do something special with it.
Yeah.
The standard should be a clear base that GW gives you.
This is a very
I only have
controversial
one
opinion.
Oh yeah. But like, fuck, that's what it should be. It should be a clear base.
I only have one gripe against a clear base is
What?
that when you're staring at the model alone, like it's not on tabletop, it's not with anyone else in the army, it looks unfinished.
Now,
I would love to. I love to see
But
where
Is
he's
that just
standing.
what society is told?
That,
Maybe.
No, honestly,
Maybe.
exactly. I think that's honestly what it is.
I think it's unfinished personally. Like I see it and I'm like, why is he floating on the air? You know, when I'm holding him in my hand, like that doesn't make much sense. Like he should be standing.
But
on
why is
something.
a 50-foot tall redhead also holding this Space Marine model? You know, like none of it makes any sense.
Well, it's a game, Mark.
Well, exactly. So then it doesn't really matter if he's floating in the air or not. It's all just
you're
for fun.
supposed to-
Well,
the
you've
clear-
created like an entire model, and he has like a narrative.
Yeah.
for
Okay.
him,
So
right?
here's my thing. So you don't like the idea of basing tanks?
Yeah, but
So-
part of that is also just gameplay.
The clear.
No. But well, yes. But if Games Workshop said like there are tons of vehicles that have bases that you're actually supposed to use, so it's a very arbitrary thing.
You're supposed to just like imagine the clear base isn't there.
Yeah. That's.
Well, when I'm playing the game, absolutely.
Yeah. I don't know. I think
I know
that
what you're
should be the
saying.
standard.
Like obviously a clear base looks less cool when you're just like looking at a model.
But I also
Sure.
love to see like what people like. How do they envision their actual army, and how do they
yes.
interact that with the base? Like just
Right.
imagine
It's like
Colin's,
anything
imagine
you-
Colin's army if he didn't base. Like Colin's bases are amazing. Like I really like that
Yeah.
ice,
That's actually
rock,
true.
and snow.
I think that
he
basing-
does. Like that model would look so much
basing
shittier without
gives
the
you
base.
an opportunity to like build your lore. Like the Tau army I'm building.
Like it shares
the only reason that
Yeah.
I made the lore was so that it can have cool shit on the bases. Otherwise, it would be like whatever.
No, and I think that's like a good aspect of how do you share. Like my bases for my Great Knights are supposed to look like an asteroid.
Yep.
And there's a reason for it,
Yeah.
right? You should question why you did your base like this. Like in
Yeah.
the exact same way of why did you paint all your heavy weapons this specific color?
Yeah.
I would also say why is there like a skull on every single one of your guys' bases? Like what does that mean?
Yeah.
And I think it's just another way for someone to tell story.
No, I
so
like-
on the tabletop, I'm totally with you. Clear bases look so much better
Sure.
than your lava bases when you're playing on a fat mat that's an ice world. That looks dumb.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But when I look at an individual model, I
Yeah.
like the base.
Yeah. Sure. I'm not arguing with you.
Well, you were.
No. Just arguing the point that why is this like floating in the air, and then I brought you into the whole mix. Why does any of it matter at that point? You know.
Because
When you
I
start
think you
questioning-
use it to build your narrative. I think
No,
you use it to
and I
share
do that, like-
share the story
Yeah.
of your army.
No, I definitely.
I know you
agree.
do that.
I definitely 100% agree.
Yeah.
But I also think that since lots of people don't base their miniatures
Might as well
anyway,
just-
might as well just be on a clear. And then it's like any of these other steps that we've talked about. If I look at a model and it's not weathered, no big deal. But then
Right, you're saying a clear base could be like what they ship out, and then
That should be
to
the
go
standard.
the extra mile. You could
then
base
you
it
do what you need
otherwise.
to do. Exactly. You know.
And I would have no problem with that,
Yeah.
right? Like I just if the standard was everyone did clear bases,
Yeah.
and then I had like 6 different armies in front of me, and one of them was like based and it had like all that crazy
Yeah,
stuff,
yeah.
I would just be so much more impressed.
Oh yes,
with
absolutely.
that one.
Exactly.
I mean,
yeah.
But
yeah.
it doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with these ones with clear bases.
No,
I'm just- It's just the other level. How far do you want to take it?
Exactly.
You
If
know?
you're
And
not going to base your models by clear bases,
this is more what I'm trying to.
that's consensus we've come to.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now all of that we've just talked about, throw out the window because GW has come out with what's called contrast paint.
Right. Yeah. Never mind.
No.
The last hour of us talking. Contrast paint exists.
And it's fucking awesome. Like I haven't used it myself really, but
I've seen some really cool stuff
yes,
with it.
I've used
some
it a
people,
little.
like you said with the airbrush, they're like, oh, that's cheating. It's just like, fuck you, you're an idiot. This is just another awesome tool you can use.
Yeah,
It's
no,
just like a
it's great.
different style of paints. Like,
Yeah.
what other effects can you create with these different pigments and different like the different thickness of paints? Like,
Yeah, so that's if you want to actually do the painting aspect of it, you can incorporate it into these other steps. Or if you're just trying to get models out, contrast paint's the way to go. Basically, contrast paint is like this all-in-one solution where it's a base, it's a layer, it's an edge, all
It's
in
a
one.
wash.
It's a wash all in one.
Yeah, it pools in dark places just like washes. It stays on flat places just like bases and layers.
Yeah.
And like it really disappears from like edges, just like
Yeah, so
to,
it
like,
gives your
yeah,
edges
it's really
brightness,
cool.
like, and it's
Yeah.
just you
Very
slap
cool
it on
stuff.
one time and you're done. Like obviously, like anything, you can put more love into
Exactly,
it. You can
yeah.
go back and then paint over top of that contrast paint. You can then do edges yourself or whatever you want to do. But
Totally.
if you're just trying to pump models out, like if you're looking down the barrel of 90 orc boys,
Contrast paint is your friend.
Contrast paint is your friend, and it's not cheating.
it's so you don't go
Like,
insane.
It's for your own good.
Same as any of these things, it's just a tool in your arsenal, right? Like
Exactly.
You can really like. I do commission painting to like a relatively
You're- no,
moderate
you're
level,
amazing.
and
Yeah,
like I
you're
still
amazing
use
at it.
contrast paint for like certain things, right? Like it.
Yeah.
Some of them are like really. They're like better washes.
Yeah.
Like you take them, thin them down a whole bunch, and it's like such a sick wash for like certain colors, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The one thing about contrast paint to note though is much like a wash, you want to avoid flatness.
Power armor on washes looks
Yeah.
like, if you're not careful, I think it can.
and that's the key word
mess up.
if you're not careful. So if you're careful and you're catching, it's called pooling, I think is the technical
yeah, it's
term.
creating that weird line
And
stuff.
if
too,
you
right?
catch it and
Yeah.
you catch it with your brush and you move it so it doesn't pool on flat panels, it'll work. But you got to be diligent with it. Like power armor, you can make it work if you're diligent, but really contrast is amazing for any type of like leather, cloth, like
flesh, like
yeah.
it's amazing on those.
yeah,
like,
exactly. And it'll look good on power if you take time. Sure.
And they do have like paints that you're recommended to kind of contrast over. They brought out like the Wraith Bone and the
Yeah, they released a
Gray
bunch
Sears.
of new
So-
sprays.
Yeah,
when
and
they
there's supposed to be
paints.
contrast based paints that the contrast like is formulated to look better over.
Yeah, so I've talked to people about this before, and I haven't really reached like a solid answer. Like, why use contrast paint? And then they're like, oh, because it's made to go with the contrast paint.
You mean why use
Why-
contrast?
why use the spray?
paint? Yeah.
And like they're like, oh, it's made to go with it. I'm just like, is it chemically different? I'm this is generally asking. I don't know why.
I don't know.
Like, is it actually different, or is it literally just a different color? And in that case,
Marketing
can you
campaign.
not? No, honestly, like I don't know. Because I've used contrast paint on when I was originally trying to do my Tyranids. I just didn't like the color I bought.
Right.
But I just used regular white spray paint, and it went on fine.
Like
it
from
just,
Walmart or whatever.
yeah, and it just wasn't the color I wanted, so I then
And
didn't use it.
it will look different depending on what you're putting
Yeah,
it over
yeah.
because it's really translucent still.
So, like, is the contrast spray paint that GW came out with, it's just that off shade of white, so it creates kind of that better color. But if you went and got that same off shade of white, like, I don't know if
I know what you're
contrast paint is actually, like,
Necessary that you
chemically
buy the-
different to
Right.
do. I don't know.
What I've
And-
done is used a black primer and then sprayed the gray sear from like the top down to create like that light transition, and
Yeah.
then you contrast paint over top of that.
Interesting.
So you like then everything is done for you.
Yeah.
Does contrast paint show over black?
So it shows, well, yeah, like, so
Because I've never even seen contrast paint. Like I've never held it in my hand. Like I don't know how thin
when
it
you
is
create that
or-
zenithal highlight with the gray sear, like it'll naturally transition from really gray to black.
Yeah.
So in those areas that it's kind of somewhere in between, you're gonna have whatever color over top of
let's
that.
say red or whatever.
It'll still create like a transition, right?
But
So-
at the deepest, blackest parts where that zenith,
still
that
be
white
black.
never hit, it won't be red. It'll be black.
right.
Yeah.
But like
Cool.
good paint jobs have a lot of contrast, so
Yeah.
black to bright red would still look awesome.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, contrast paint's amazing. Like you can just get stuff done.
Yeah,
It's
I
gonna
have,
look
I have
good.
a bunch of buddies who do a Blood Bowl league back in Lethbridge, and
Yeah.
they just paint with contrast, and it looks like sick. Like they turn out great teams
Yeah,
in
I
like
bet,
2
yeah.
weeks, and they're like playing.
Yeah,
It's like
yeah,
the best way to
exactly.
get models on the table. So
Yeah. So don't let anyone call you a little bitch for using it because it's fucking
Little
awesome.
bitch.
Like, yeah,
Iain only paints now with airbrush and contrast. It's going on strike.
very controversial man over there. Yeah. So if anyone knows if the contrast spray paint is actually different, just seems like everyone I've talked to, they don't have a consensus. They just kind of give me well, that's what GW recommended. It's like,
I do it because I was led to this feeder and now I eat from here.
yeah. So because I'm genuinely curious if it is different, their spray, or if it's just a different shade. So
Yeah, the weird thing is like you could totally see if they were like, yes, this is chemically designed for it.
Exactly.
Or if they were just like, no. Like either way, I'm like, okay, makes sense. Like it's Games Workshop.
sure. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Exactly.
Like either
So-
one way, like they're putting out like an amazing quality product.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
is necessary, or on the other end, they're just like, no, we're just making money.
Yeah, because the contrast paint is even more expensive than their regular spray
It's
paint.
like, isn't it like
they are $11. Or do you mean
No.
for the
the pots aren't they? Yeah, aren't
the
they
pots
like,
are $11.
That's wild.
yeah, but if
But they're
you
also
compare it
big.
to
They're big.
yeah,
They're the size
and
of
if
the
you
big wash
compare it
pots
to
now.
like then you don't have to buy a base,
Yeah.
a dry brush, and
I guess
a
it's cheaper
edge
that
light.
way. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's awesome if you're new to it and you don't really, if you're not interested in painting, just use contrast paint. But
Yeah.
if you're interested in painting, yeah, you can do all these other steps and start building up your repertoire.
It's gonna look like contrast paint, but that doesn't necessarily mean it looks bad.
No.
No.
You can. It's just
It's gonna be
It's
fun.
just different.
Yeah. And the final step we're going to talk about is sealing. This is something. Yeah.
please seal your models.
Yeah. I don't know why I don't do that with my models.
If you're gonna be playing with your models, like
Your
paint's-
finger's gonna be touching them.
the oil's on your hands, paint's gonna chip off. It's gonna look like shit after a couple of years of you gaming with it, especially if you're out like once a week playing with your stuff.
Yeah.
Paint chips.
Yeah.
So like
Rubs
just-
off even.
Yeah. So a varnish, it just goes over top. You can paint it on with a paintbrush, but you should probably spray paint it on realistically.
Yeah, use like a satin or a matte varnish.
Yeah.
Don't use gloss varnish. It'll look very weird. Everybody will look very sweaty and greasy.
Yeah. But
Necron.
you could do
Necron.
like
Sure,
a
if
very
you're doing
clean,
metallic,
like
Wouldn't
yeah.
look weird.
Yeah, if you're doing like a very clean power armor, like bright and shimmery, you could get away with it. But yeah,
just like
be
any other
aware.
thing here is
Yeah.
you can use this as a tool to get different effects
Yeah.
on your army, but it's also like a necessary step.
It is.
just like how choosing like a primer color
Yeah.
can affect how you look and how it's a necessary step. Just like this, you still need to seal, but you can also use it.
Yeah.
For me,
I-
like sealing your army at the end, it's like the best part. You're like, I'm fucking done.
Yeah,
And I can throw this thing at a wall and it won't chip now. Like, don't do that. Please don't do that. But
Once again with contrast paint, I have heard crazy rumors that
tell me more. Tinfoil.
that contrast paint apparently you have to seal it, otherwise it comes off like
oh, really?
if you look at it.
Interesting.
I'll say
I
that's
don't know.
definitely true with airbrush.
Oh, okay.
Super thin. So if you don't let your airbrush paint dry and you touch it, or like you don't seal it at the end, like it does come off pretty easy. So like just seal it.
Yeah, just seal it. Just fucking seal it. I got
You just spent whatever, like 40 hours painting your army or a model or your HQ. Like, why not protect it? Like, just seal your model.
Yeah.
If there was ever a reason why I don't seal, first of all, it's because I don't paint.
Yeah, you
Yep.
don't have a finished model
But
yet.
second, like the knowing when you're done, I think is a big thing for me.
Totally.
Like every time like I put a model down, I'll go pick up another one. do some paint on it. And then when I'm putting stuff away, I pick up the one that I thought I was done. I look at it and I'm like, I can do better on that. I can pick that part out. Like I could highlight that a little better. That's definitely a problem for me, is just being okay with saying, no, this model is actually done and finished.
You can paint over the seal though, once you seal it. So it's not like you've sealed it and now you can't go back and reapply paint.
Very true.
There are a lot of even techniques where like midway through you seal the model multiple times.
Yeah.
And also like it seals the model for a certain technique, but some people even treat it as like a save point where
I do that with airbrushing. Yeah. I will airbrush the base coat and then seal it, and then I'll do everything afterwards.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And then if you mess something up, it's easy to take it down to that seal and not take it down to the gray plastic. So it acts as kind of
very
like
cool.
A lot of times if you wash over an airbrush layer without sealing it, you will rub off some paint.
It's that delicate, hey?
Yeah, it just depends. I mean,
sure.
For what you were talking about there, Eric, like what I always do with my armies, like, is I'll like do like a proof of concept model where I'll take something from like start to finish and like write every step down. Like, this is how I painted the sword. This is how I painted the leather with the colors and the layers and what techniques I used. And then I can like refer back to that, and I never have like that, oh, I could have gone farther, or I couldn't. What did I do for this model that I painted 3 weeks ago?
Sure, yeah.
And then like you always kind of have a frame of reference to go back to when you like don't know if you're at that done point yet.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah, that's kind of a good thing. Make sure that because there's no way you're finishing your entire army in one sit down.
Right.
So
Exactly.
Watch me.
Been doing pretty good with Liber Malleus.
Not one sit down. That's two. That's been two sit downs.
Sit down. But
I
yeah,
sat
it's
down
one of those. That's definitely a
Three
good thing,
sit-downs.
especially like the more colors and the more techniques you're trying to use, like to write down like, all right, for all the ammo pouches on my models, like this is the color, this is the base, this is the layer I did, right? Like
To shit on Christian one more time.
Yeah.
This drives me insane about him because he doesn't have a lot of free time to paint because he's a busy guy.
yeah.
But then every time he paints, it's like, oh, how did I paint that? It's like, fucking write it down. Or like he builds his mods and then he has to take everyone out. It's just like,
I love
write
that,
it down what
actually.
you've done. And then, yeah, like it's such a simple thing.
I love when he's over and there's like 50 Primaris Marines
Just scattered.
Scattered.
across.
Yeah, we came over to paint, and
That-
the whole
yeah.
night he just taking stuff out of his fishing tackle box.
Yeah,
and then he's like, I gotta go home, and he puts it all away. And the next time he's back,
He
has to pull them all out again. I
or
love
he
it.
just sleeps on the couch.
yeah. But
Yeah.
no,
So
I enjoy
essential,
watching that.
It's essential to write it down. Like for my Liber Malleus project, I do have it written down on my phone, the step by step, because it's going to be over the course of a year or two potentially.
Sure, yeah.
Depending on how often we
and you
release
want the
campaigns.
same
exactly
level of quality.
exactly. So
Well, yeah, like the thing with this hobby is like a lot of people don't like, they paint for an hour a night. If you're lucky, most people don't
Yeah.
get to paint for an hour a night.
Yeah.
But like, you know, if you do get a chance to paint once a week or something, like it's nice to have it written down. Like I have a log
Yeah.
of every project I've worked on where I write down like the colors for each thing.
yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. So those are most of the techniques. Like you can get fucking deep into painting, man. Like you can go so hard, but that's gonna get you any model that people are gonna look at and you can be proud of.
Oh yeah.
There are a couple common questions that I get asked. So one of the things is people ask, do you paint all the pieces separately and then glue it together? I say, fuck off with that noise. Unless there's always stipulations. So that is one stipulation. If you are a good painter, like we're talking, like you're entering painting competitions, you're actually good. Yeah, paint it individually because it will show off then. Like, but if you're just painting a Space Marine, you're just getting on the tabletop and you're just using contrast paint, just glue the fucking Space Marine together. Don't worry about it.
Well, and then don't even bother painting it.
Well,
Just
don't-
play great.
No. That is absolutely
Yeah.
the lowest thing you can do as a human. Like,
Wait,
I don't know.
what's lower? Not contributing to
Yeah, I was just about
Lorehammer,
to think about
or-
that. Yeah, I don't know
Yeah.
which one's lower. They're both fucking awful.
How are you
humans.
my friend? I'm-
Yeah, you don't do either of those, you son of a bitch.
Yeah, I think like if you're painting like 30 boys or whatever, a
Just
bunch
glue
of
'em
Marines,
together.
just glue them together. For
Now-
me, like I paint things separately that I don't know. I'm also like really anal, so don't take my advice
But
necessarily.
you're a good painter, and it can actually show. That I
Depends.
think is one of the big things.
when I'm looking, like if I was looking through your catalog of figuring out whether or not I wanted to like you to paint my stuff, I will look like how detailed is it on parts that are ridiculously tough to get at, because there's little parts on every model.
To talk more shit about Christian, if you pick up his models and look at them from underneath, you literally see gray plastic from the models, because he's like, well, you don't see there. It's like,
but that's what I'm saying, like,
ooh, okay, lordy.
But that's like, hey, if you want to do that, sure, whatever. But if you want to like produce something that's like a quality product, I'm looking for shit like that. So it makes complete sense that someone in your position is actually painting on sprue or in sub-assemblies.
So don't go that far. Painting on sprue. What the
so
fuck are you guys doing?
Yeah, that one I never get.
You guys
I
are
can't
weird,
even recommend at any stage to
But
paint models
like,
on sprue.
I do know the difficulty of a Space Marine with a bolter just held across their chest in like a standard position and just trying to hit that Aquila on the chest piece.
I don't know, man.
And
I just painted 40 and I never ran into that issue.
Like I'm doing Grey Knights right now, and there's literal parts that I'm like, I can't get my brush to hit this.
If your
hit
eyeball
this bone.
can see it.
Are you literally about to tell me that if my eyeball can see it, I can fit a paintbrush in there?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, that's not true.
At all.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Fine.
I don't know. I think like
If
No, but
it's
all I'm
that
saying is it
minuscule
bugged
of a
me.
detail
Yeah.
that you can't get a paintbrush in there, chances are good it doesn't matter.
Well, it's not that it doesn't matter, but like I know it's there. Like, and if you were to look at the model, like there's like a chance you would look and you'd see that, right? So I'd like to
like
get
one of
as
my-
much complete as
one of
possible.
my friends used to paint the inside of his Land Raider and then glue all the sides
That's
together.
awesome. I love that. I love that little detail.
You know, like it's just like
You can take anything as far as
The
you
best
need
thing
to.
would be trashing that Land Raider like,
Like,
in the bin, and then you pull it out like 5 years later and you crack it open. You're
Why
like,
is the
wait a
inside-
minute.
Yeah.
There's 5 Space Marines all sitting on benches here.
yeah, fuck it.
Like that would be awesome.
Yeah, you can take anything to any extreme that you
Absolutely.
want, but for 99% of the things, you don't need to
I
do.
don't do sub-assembly.
No.
You don't do sub-assembly.
Now, there is another stipulation to my sub-assembly. Like, either you're an amazing painter, or what you're painting is like an Imperial Knight, where it is made up of 2 very distinct parts. One, the skeletal frame of the Knight, in which case I spray paint silver, and then the armor panels, in which case I spray paint the color of the armor panels.
Is that a problem with just it's 2 different things, or it's just the size?
2 different things, and the size makes it easy to do.
Yeah,
like you
but-
can't really do this for. You could do it for
Like,
fucking
okay,
a Space
my
Marine's
canoptic
gun.
my canoptic stalker.
Yeah.
2 very different things. There's all the armor plates,
Yeah.
and then all the mechanic part below. Would you do that sub-assembly?
Yeah, like probably maybe I would.
Really?
Yeah, certain things like I kind of agree. Like
For certain
even
things.
like whatever, like a Space Marine and his bike, I would probably paint those separately, or like a
Yeah,
rider and
yeah.
his horse or whatever.
Yeah.
You know,
I can see that because you can prime 2 different colors.
Yeah,
that's
what Mark's kinda saying,
That's
I
what I'm
think.
saying. Like if you are priming 2 different colors or want them to
If you're priming all black, who cares?
exactly, like at that point it doesn't really matter. So
It's probably easier to glue the whole thing together because then you don't have to prime 2 separate things.
yeah. But you can always find, these things that it's going to be a better technique to do it this way or that way.
Yeah.
But for
And
just
it's also going to
your-
be a comfort level. Like,
Sure.
what do you prefer doing? Like,
Yeah.
whatever's going to get you painting more models
Yeah.
is what you should probably do,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. But yeah, for just your standard fucking Space Marine, there's no need to do sub-assemblies.
Yes,
man.
there is. The Aquila on the goddamn chest.
Just paint it. Just
I
fucking
mean,
paint it.
yeah, I would still probably paint it without the gun.
That's absurd. No, you guys do you. I'm not judging.
absurd.
I'm just pissed, okay?
That's fucking absurd.
It's just ridiculous.
No.
Okay? It's ridiculous.
I don't know. I've literally never had an issue with like it. Maybe I also
but I
am-
also bet that if we looked at all your models, we could probably find something that was missed.
I don't know. Go take a peek, man. I'm telling you, if my eye can see it
now.
if my eye can see it, I can get a paintbrush to it.
That's not always true, though.
It is
No,
though.
because your eye can see so much finer
But I can't-
detail than a paintbrush can
I can't
fit in.
see around corners though, which means my straight line paintbrush can get to what I can see.
Here's a better argument.
There is no better argument.
Painting with the base on or off.
I build models with bases, but like
Because
I think
that would take away what you're trying to say, because then you can see everything on the model, right?
Yeah.
If there's no base, you can get your paintbrush to all those weird places.
Well, and that is one thing I do. I typically will glue my guys half on a base, 1 foot on, 1 foot
Okay,
off.
see,
because
there are parts like where my paintbrush just will not get the
'Cause the
right
base is
angle
there.
because there's a base in
Yeah.
the way. Like that's just. I mean, there's also other things. It's also sometimes there's a bolter or they're holding something else on their base or on their model or whatever. But yeah, like I build all my guys standing on the model, and they never leave that.
Yeah.
But from now on, I think every next model I do
Makes
I
it
will
harder
not-
to paint when they're already
it's
on a base.
So much harder. Yeah.
Well,
I
it's
will
nice
not
to
do
grab
that
onto,
from now
but
on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or I'll just tack it or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and painting your base separately, it kind of goes back to like, are you spray painting them differently? Like,
Yeah.
I really enjoy Games Workshop texture base paints. I think I will
they're good.
only ever use those.
yeah, like
I'm not good enough to need to explore other things.
The
Yeah.
crackle paint is so nice.
yeah, there's nothing
I'm
wrong
using
with it.
the Astro Granite right now.
Yeah, I just
that thing
paint-
is so malleable. Like you
nice.
can literally sculpt things out of it.
I just
it's
did
cool.
the 30 Poxwalkers I did for that guy's Death Guard
They had Astro Granite,
mission. I'd use Armageddon Dust or something. It's the
Okay.
same. It's just a
just a different color, but same
But
texture.
Super nice. You
Yeah.
just throw a wash on it, dry brush it, looks
Very
cool.
cool.
Super nice. Yeah, so another question is, how do I paint X or Y? Just fucking YouTube it. Like,
Like how do I paint power swords?
yeah.
How do I paint
YouTube.
lenses?
Like,
How do I
honestly,
paint
I'm not even
gems?
like
Instagram
go-
has so many awesome tutorials.
even
too.
that. Yeah. YouTube is nice because then you can watch the Warhammer TV channel, and once again, it's the easiest intro. Like,
Yeah.
you can go deep, and you could watch like a 30-hour video about how somebody painted this fucking
just a
greater
single
demon.
face.
Or
Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Like some of them
But
are insane.
if you do GW, it's nice Warhammer TV because they're going to be painting what you want to see, and they have just such a wide variety, and it's easy to follow.
And they really do like delve into the little weird things, like how do I paint a power sword? There's a 1-minute video on there.
How to paint eyeballs? They have that.
Yeah.
Like,
how do I
literally
paint a
almost
leather
anything.
pouch? They probably have it. How do I paint a white robe? They probably have it.
Yeah, they even have like how do I paint goth boys, like from
Right.
start to finish. Like,
Yeah.
it's just
There's
it's,
some very cool
And
things
then
that they have on
specific
there.
models, like how do I paint? I'm sure when the new Gazkul model comes out, there's going
yeah.
to be the 30-minute sit down and paint
Yeah.
the entire model with whoever it is now.
That's very cool.
yeah.
Yeah.
yeah so it's a valuable resource. Like, one of the reasons why I hated painting in the beginning is because, like we've joked about, it was those 3 steps and then bingo bango boom, you have a golden demon model, where it's like, I know there was other steps involved. I know it. Where when you watch the
Nope,
videos,
just those 3 marks.
yeah, and it's like I couldn't prove it, but I had a fucking hint.
Tinfoil.
Yeah, where you can actually watch how they do it now. I think
It makes it
painting-
much more manageable.
Yeah, I think painting is like 70% technique and seeing how it's actually done. And then as long as you're not fucking drunk hands, like as long as you're decently steady, you can mimic that. Of course, like the other bit is practice. The more you practice, you're obviously going to get better. But you can paint really good models, like if you watch a video and you see how they do it, because it's not complicated. It's all technique and using stuff. Painting on a canvas is like completely different because you don't have a model. You can't take advantage of the depths and the ridges. But once you know how to take advantage of that kind of stuff, it's a lot easier as opposed to a canvas where it's like
You have to create everything.
exactly.
yeah.
So a lot of
Sure,
it is
I can see that difference.
Our
is-
canvases are already made for us. We just have to put stuff on them.
exactly. So watch YouTube videos. Warhammer TV does amazing ones, and like you said, you can just find any little detail. So, I got a couple pro tips here that I would like to share. The one is spray paint accordingly, and what I mean by that is, once again, if you're a Space Marine player and you're painting Imperial Fists and you're just trying to get a tabletop army, spray paint them yellow. Then go out and pick out details.
No, spray paint them black,
And-
and then just apply yellow pot paint.
15 colors.
15
Straight
to
from
30
the pot,
layers
yeah.
Okay, yeah.
of yellow
Like,
paint.
I mean, both would work.
Like it seems crazy like that. This
no,
is not
be
done
smart
more
about
common.
be smart about what
exactly.
you're basing.
Yeah.
Use your time wisely.
Yeah, exactly.
Or you can undercoat it red and spray yellow from the top.
You could do that.
Oh,
if
that's
you're-
so cool.
yeah, like there's crazy things.
Oh, you could.
Yeah, I'm gonna do Imperial Fists next after my Tau is painted, and
Okay, I shit you not. I had a dream last night about not being an Imperial Fist, but I'm pretty sure I was an Imperial Fist.
is that why you're wearing yellow today?
Were you in a pain glove just beating off or what?
No, but we had someone submit a story to us,
Okay.
and he like it was in an email, and he's like, "Hey, just read this like prologue,
Yeah.
or whatever."
Oh, yeah, yeah,
And it
okay.
was about the new the induction of like the newest Imperial Fist chapter master, McGregor Desorian or something like that.
Sure.
Anyways, I read that and then I like immediately like went to bed. And
Yeah.
I swear to God, like I was in this place with just like massive hulking yellow armor and yeah,
Seeped into your psyche.
it was so cool.
Right?
But it just like I also love Imperial Fist to begin with, right? So
Of course,
You
because you're a
should
man
just-
of culture.
you should just paint me an Imperial Fist army.
What?
What?
You won't even pay me to paint your Grey Knights army.
Well, no one's getting paid.
Oh. I see.
You're just doing it for fun.
Fun.
Yeah.
Fun.
Anyways, sorry, Mark. I
the-
didn't mean to derail you.
No, it's all good. We all want to talk
We all
about
have
Imperial
Space
Fist.
Marine dreams.
Everybody does. Mine is that they release Primaris melee units.
Well, that's an impossibility. That's at least there's a chance of me joining the Imperial Fist before they release Primaris melee.
Right, sorry, yeah.
Yeah.
So another technique, and I've tried this, and this technique works a lot better than others. Just like the spray paint technique, this almost is the opposite of that. It's called dipping.
I remember you did this. You did this with bloodletters.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it works really good
It's
for
pretty cool.
lots of clothy. It doesn't once it's like a wash. We'll get into it.
It is a wash.
It essentially is for sure.
It's very
but
cool.
you don't want to do flat panels. You get lots of pooling and stuff. But like I did
use
my
your,
blood.
use your orcs, right? Like,
Yeah,
use
exactly.
your demons.
So the technique is you spray paint your model. You do a base coat on the model, like you pick out the flesh with green, but you don't take it any further past that point. You pick out the pants with brown, and then after that you buy from Army Painter. They sell some, but if you don't want to do that, you can also go and buy like wood varnish for like staining a deck, or wood stain, sorry, for staining a deck. And yeah, depending on how dark you want it, depends on how dark you buy then. But literally you grab your model and you dip it into the varnish or the stain, and then you flick it off, and it's just like a super wash. It just deepens everything for you. So it's going to be really good. Like I did my blood letters and it turned out perfectly because it was just like I spray painted them
You have
red.
blood letters?
Oh yeah, I've had
way back in the day, yeah. One of them was on one of my bases, actually, the Grey Knight. That has like he's ripped the head off the
Oh,
blood letter.
yes.
That's one that he dipped. But it was cool. It like
Yeah,
it
I
like
literally
had a cool
sprayed-
transition from like
Yeah.
black to red.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
I just spray painted it red,
Yeah.
and then I dipped it, and it just gave everything depth. It was
It's kind of
really
what contrast paint looks like now.
yeah, exactly. It's very similar, but it's even less.
Back in the day, that was like what everyone did for Skaven clan rats in Warhammer Fantasy Battles.
Was dipping.
Dip the fuck out of those clan rats, yeah.
Yeah.
You used to run like 140 of them or something.
yeah, and it just
Makes sense.
It's just
right.
another way to do it. Like
It's an alternate technique. It's
yeah,
pretty cool.
it works really good for some models. Like any demon, it could work very well.
Quick and easy.
Quick
and easy.
Those
Another
are my middle names.
Eric Quick and Easy Soul Tech.
That's right.
The Imperial Fist.
That's a title though, not a name.
Yeah,
technically.
I earned that.
What, quick and easy?
No, the Imperial Fist. By being quick and easy.
Oh.
So another thing, painting, this helps a lot. So people often get so torn up on the inside, caught up every time they see their model. So they have 1,000 gray models in front of them, and they just look at them and they just get demoralized. You can never pick one. Am I ever? Oh my god! They just bitch and whine. So my tip is don't be a bitch and just fucking do it. No,
My God.
just don't be a bitch.
Why are you so
Stared right at
angry?
Eric when he said that.
No. The tip is, and this honestly helps a lot. Put all those away. Put all your gray models into a shelf away from your eyesight, and only take out a model that you're actually painting. And then when you're done painting that model, put it in front of your painting station.
Yeah.
And then every time you look up, you get a literal hit of endorphin from seeing this painted model that you've done. And now you painted 2, and now you're getting like, oh, and now you got 3, and it's like it builds up. So instead of looking at this sea of gray, look at the sea of painted models.
Yeah, this is all kind of part of that motivation piece, right? Like,
Yeah.
that's probably the hardest part about painting an army is like sitting down and finding the will to get through all of that, right? And like, I think another super important thing is like find a group of dudes to like do a paint night with, or like
That helps.
do a paint challenge with, or something
Join me
like
on
that.
Instagram Live. Join me on Discord.
Share your models in like our Discord.
Dude,
yeah,
like that kind of thing. Like,
ask for like advice. Ask us what we think, or
Like,
like
it'll
we have a
get-
decent community on the
it
Discord.
will
for
get
that.
you painting more minis for sure.
Yeah.
And yeah, like especially if you're sitting down with another dude in a room and you're just painting together, like it's so good. It's so fun.
Yeah.
So
stuff.
the takeaway is anyone can learn how to paint. It's all just knowing how to. But anyone can learn.
It's about knowing where to find the resources.
Exactly.
And then also
anyone can
disciplining
do it.
yourself and making sure you're actually practicing, because you can have watched a million YouTube videos and you've never once painted. It doesn't make you a good painter. You also have to apply all those techniques that
Yeah,
you're
don't get
learning.
analysis paralysis. Just
Yeah.
like sit down and paint
Just start
it every
trying,
once in a
yeah.
while.
Yeah.
Don't be scared to like paint models that like try things out on models that you're never going to put on the table, but they're
Yeah.
just extra bits or whatever, right? Like I think I have like 30 plus blades that aren't on my paladins.
Yeah.
I plan on ripping the fuck out of those before I actually start putting power effects on my guys. Just to see, like, I want to get like a good, consistent power weapon.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
One tip too is that we didn't talk about is we never talked about stripping models. So
Oh.
like you guys said, like you can experiment as many times with a model and then you can just strip the paint off with like simple clean, simple green, and then paint them again. So don't be worried about like, oh, I don't want to paint because I don't want to ruin this model.
Right.
As long as you don't seal it, you're not going to ruin it.
Yeah.
So
some spray paints also don't come off in simple clean.
Yeah.
that
but
might be
I
the
mean,
case. But
Yeah, I noticed when I stripped that one dreadnought that you had,
Oh.
I had to scrape that
the
paint
longer
off.
that the paint sits on it, also like if you paint,
Yeah.
if you're stripping an army that you found in the
Absolutely.
garage from 6 years ago,
Yeah.
that's different than like
For sure.
I fucked this up. Like I'll just
stripping is a
strip it.
whole entire another.
Yeah.
You have to be careful about some things and
Yeah.
make sure. Yeah. Anyways,
But
But
yeah,
yeah.
so don't be afraid. Just paint.
Yeah,
watch a video,
absolutely.
try painting. If you don't like it, strip the paint off, try again, or just move on. Like
Yeah, leave
and come
it.
back to it eventually. Like,
have that as your first model and then use it as your stepping point. Be like, okay,
Yeah.
my next model, I'm going to paint better than this. And then
Yeah.
see where you are, like either 10 models from then or like 6 months from then, see what
Exactly.
you're doing.
You can come back to
It's
things.
nice to even just see progression.
Yeah.
Coming back with fresh eyes absolutely helps.
yeah. And here's the one truth about painting.
The one true.
The one true. Even the worst, shittiest painted model is better than gray plastic, Eric.
Cletus, please.
Even that
okay.
guy. I would rather play an army against Cletus, all Cletuses, than gray plastic, honestly.
Well, I don't have any more gray plastic.
I took care of that.
Yeah.
I
They're
took care
all
of it.
they're all Gray Knight Silver base mark. God.
Yeah.
I was
Get off my dick.
feeling equally sorry for Eric, and I offered to base
In a moment
coat
of
all
weakness,
of
he
his
said he
Grey
would
Knights.
do it.
Yeah.
So try your hand at painting it. It can be enjoyable.
Yeah.
It can be relaxing, and you can get good quickly if you just follow basic techniques.
Just do some cocaine and
and it's
it
not
done.
for everyone though. Also, so if
Yeah.
you don't like
also
it,
get a commission.
Iain Lawson commission painter.
Well, yeah. So Iain Lawson.
Yeah.
What is your?
I think
Instagram handle?
you do local, right? Like
Yeah, I kind of just have been doing Calgary stuff, but I would do.
so you've been working on a bunch
Non-local
of
stuff
Nurgle
also.
stuff recently.
Yeah, so my I've just kind of been doing a big Death Guard army over the last couple of months. Did a big Sylvaneth force before that for a
Ooh,
buddy.
I like Sylvaneth in terms of AOS. That and like the Aztec-y lizards.
Lizard men.
Are they-
What are they called now?
Sephafin.
Sarah. Say that again.
Sephafin.
Seraphon.
Yeah.
Seraphudanin.
The Sylvaneth and that are definitely my favorite AOS armies. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man, I told you about that salamanders conversion I saw the other day, where somebody took like a Primaris salamander
yeah.
and then put like the Temple Guard model from AOS on it. Oh my god, it looked so sick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my plug. I paint minis in Calgary if you live
And
in Calgary.
He's
Or
Very,
LA.
good.
very well, yeah. And very reasonably priced.
You painted or you airbrushed the Liber Malleus guys, and like I'm fucking blown away by them. Like
Thanks, buddy.
it's fucking awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Like I wouldn't have made them half as good without what you did for it. So
It just adds such a depth.
yeah. So yeah, check
Yeah.
out Iain Lawson Miniatures Instagram if you're in Calgary and you want, even if you're not in Calgary.
IAIN.
IAIN.
We'll put a link to your Instagram in our show notes.
Go
so
check it
people
out. He's
can,
got some really fucking good miniatures. So
Yeah.
Thanks, boys. Yeah, I'm not taking commissions right now because I really desperately wanted to paint my Tau.
Oh, so the shout out was pointless.
Yeah,
then.
yeah.
You
Thanks,
know.
Ian.
You just
for,
wasted ours and everyone else's
Yeah,
time.
yeah. What a waste.
That's exactly what I'm saying. But you know,
God
after
damn it.
after the coronavirus kills half the population, then I'll
Yeah.
take more commissions.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a good goal. Okay.
See me after quarantine, boys and girls.
Cool.
Yeah, so on that note, if you're feeling lonely, if you want to chat, send us a message. If you're just fucking just bored out
If
of
you
your
need a group
mind,
to hang out with,
Yeah.
like we're playing a lot of tabletop. Simulator apparently is kind of
Yeah,
blowing
yeah,
up in our
it's kinda
Discord.
cool right now. So yeah, you can get in touch with us. Like if you want, we do have a Discord that is very active. Lots of cool stuff on there that we're doing.
Lots of very cool people too.
Yeah, follow us on Facebook if you want. Just like if you don't want to talk to us,
Well, if you just want
wanna
updates or whatever,
Exactly.
yeah.
But yeah, we're all gonna get through this coronavirus together. Like this is not the end of the world. We don't need to panic. We're all gonna make it through.
Why are you looking at me like that, Eric?
We're all in this together.
Practice social distancing.
Flatten the curve.
Play tabletop simulator instead of playing Warhammer at your table or at your game store.
Yeah.
Well, I think all game stores are shut down at
do
this
a paint
point.
challenge with your buddies.
Yeah, this is literally the perfect time.
Yeah.
To
That's
sit
kind of
down
why
and
we're
paint.
releasing this first. It's like
It's a little
it's
topical.
lockdown time. Time to paint your fucking models.
Yeah, I'd say so.
If anybody
It's about
comes
time.
out
It's about
of this,
goddamn time.
if anyone comes out of this with an army that is not painted, you can't play Warhammer anymore.
Yeah,
You have no
exactly.
fucking excuse.
We will be confiscating your models.
We're not
until
even.
you're
We're not even talking to
responsible.
the listeners at this point. We're literally just yelling at Eric.
Ian, you don't have an army.
Oh yeah. No. You don't have to tell anybody.
You don't have an army. Fuck off. Anyways,
It's coming.
good. Yeah, I hope your trip tides.
You don't have to tell everyone that I'm that guy.
No,
I can just be the guy who paints, not the piece of shit.
not the piece of shit that paints.
Yeah.
I want to change your Discord name to that now.
The piece of shit
Piece
that
of shit who
paints.
paints. Now it's he who paints slowly.
But yeah, get in touch with us. We're going to be releasing an episode every day for the next 2
Yeah,
weeks.
we're definitely gonna try and make that work. Yeah,
Yeah,
a little
we
more
might
content.
miss one, but we're going to try our best. Every episode's going to kind of have its own flavor depending on who we have on. But yeah, it's going to be cool. It's going to be fun. So I don't know. I wonder what he's smiling at over there.
Just a picture of my cat.
Interesting.
Good stuff. The Discord is rife with
Yeah,
cat pictures.
We have a channel called
and
Cats for Cassie,
meerkats.
where you just post pictures of cats or
Your
dogs
pets,
or whatever.
whatever you have. Yeah,
Yeah, and
It's
then I
fun.
show it to my wife every day, and she
rates them.
she rates them, and she's happy. And
Yeah.
then I'm like, now a little
You said what?
extracurricular, perhaps. And, she's like-
Color.
and then she banishes me to the garage.
Of course, yeah,
So-
and you go paint more Warhammer.
And then
Yeah,
you get
then I
stuff
hang
done.
out with people on the Discord. So it's,
Yeah,
it's a
perfect.
win-win-win-win-win for everybody. But yeah,
Cool.
we're all gonna make it through this, guys.
One day and model at a
One
time.
model at a time. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Well, thanks for listening, and I guess we'll see you. Well, thanks for joining us, Ian.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, boys.
It's nice to have someone who actually has like better knowledge.
Yeah, somebody who can paint.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, people are like, "Oh, Mark, you're a decent painter." I'm like, "No, no, sir."
Mark's a decent painter, like genuinely, because he actually paints his fucking armies.
Oh yes, that is the rule. Everyone's a decent painter if they actually paint their models. So
I will say though that Mark also puts a lot of time into the conversion and making his armies themed pretty cool. So like that helps too.
that does help. A strong theme goes a long way.
I don't. Yeah, I don't know.
I don't.
I
don't what?
I can paint.
He doesn't.
but
He just doesn't.
He just doesn't.
I can paint, but converting and stuff, I just don't. My brain doesn't compute.
Well,
it.
that's almost a topic for another day. Just kit bashes and conversions.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
how to
I-
build a theme for your army. Really.
Yeah, I got a
So,
bunch of topics that are going to be good,
Yeah.
like little one-off segments.
how to build
like
a
this.
theme. Yeah, that's a
So.
cool topic for sure.
Yeah, so thanks for joining us. We'll see you all later. Subscribe to our Patreon.
Yep.
Give us your money.
Send me money.
Just give us
Send
your
me
money.
money.
We just gave you an hour and a half of.
So
I don't want to say
was
good
that, like,
content,
worth
but I
it for
really
you?
use
Like whatever it is that
content,
you
it's
want,
just
then maybe
Patreon.
just like pay for it.
Mumble. Okay, love you guys. Bye.